Talk Shoes. Recorded live.
Number of us have stood up to their flag. We all know that that flag has never represented us or our freedom. So at this time, just like the pastor would ask you to do, all stand. Put your black power fist in the air. If any of you want the lyrics to the song or want the song, if you have a CD back there, if you want the song in particular, I will give it to you. Because as the brother said, this is something that we should have at our event to open up each event. Black Power Family? Oh, say, can you see? Precious old precious me. I say you for the and let my people be glad. Who's much and righteous, represent all the sun, inflicted upon our grace. I pray people this day. Now
Power, 48, my whole chat. What to do out there tonight, family? More feet on the ground radio. Now we go. Hold up. All right, you know what to go. It's Feet on the Ground family. Think Tank Thursday. We're going to get it in nice. Get the family in here. Had that RBG anthem playing in the background, you know. A nice way to set off any occasion. As the Queen said, when you always hearing the cracker anthem flowing, when they opening up their events, we need to make sure that that's pumped into the heads of our youth, pumped into our own mind first, so we'll have a reason to give it to the youth and understand what it means when we do give it to them. But let's see. With that being said, though, I wanted to. I got in the title tonight, talking about this evolution thing and how they're going to have to change they got to change the records again. Because we found out some different information. I'm going to roll this in. All right. We're going to plug this stuff in real quick, get this out. I'm going to make sure I throw this information in the chat room, send it out to everybody. Got a little fine. Let's see here. Let's see. Make sure I don't lose it. Oh, man. I got so many tabs open with so much different information open. You get what was weird. But again, let me Let me go ahead and open it up anyway. You know what we're doing. Like I said, tonight we're gonna be touching how they're gonna have to read the records again. Again, the evolution story is gonna have to be retold and rewritten once again. We gotta let me see that hopefully it's not posted to Facebook. Black Power, what's going on out there, family?
Black Power.
What's going on? How you doing, Sister Camille? How you doing?
Snowed in, cracker beef weather.
Yeah, we back snowed in. Yo, this is real unusual too. You know, the snow going all the way down to Texas. You know what I mean? Touching all the way to the top of Texas. You know, and this is one of some of the reasons that we got to be prepared. Always be prepared for any emergency. We got to stay emergency prepared. You know, that's going to be something that we're going to really have to stay on top of. And saying that, I'll wait for the brother to hit me back so we can get the brother ready to deal with some survival things in all different type of situations. But go ahead.
No, I'm agreeing with you, King. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull it up. Here we go. All right. Now listen, we got all right, now I found the article. So let me snatch this article out of here. Copy that and post this inside the chat room real quick, and I'll post them up. Yeah, let me see. That's the article we're going to be talking about. I know it's still early, so we're going to have to, we might have to drop it back inside there again. But how you tonight though, Brother Little? I hear you. I know you out there. I hear you. Throwing I peeped you out there.
Black Power family was raw.
Man, life is it dope.
Just laying black in the shadows, baby.
Surprise. Now, I'm out here doing well. Like I said, man, I'm putting this article away, man. We got some science to deal with tonight, man. A little bit of science tonight. Because
that's from that article you sent earlier, right, brother?
Yeah, I hope I sent it to you, right? I did send it about the jawbone.
Yeah, Black Power.
All right. I'm glad
I've been
I
checking it out here and there. I didn't read it all the way thorough, I gotta admit though. But I've been keeping it out here and there though.
No, I was just making sure that I sent it because I couldn't find it. Just a second.
Did you send it through the email, or how'd you send it?
I think I emailed it. Did I email it? I think I did.
Yeah, it was email.
Okay, I'll check it.
No. I think I wanted to do the email. But, yeah, it was an interesting article. Very interesting article. I'm going to read it to the people. All right, I got it going. Um, But yeah, we're gonna do this thing nice. Excuse me, fellas, for a little silence, real quick, man. I was going through these different articles and everything. Yeah. They got 2.8 million years for the Africans going out there. But what I really want to deal with though is how we, even though that information is out, the basis is that when we're dealing with our children, in order to bring them over the knowledge of themselves, we have to have a knowledge of their origin, right? Now, and I'm saying this to mean that we have to have a story to tell them. You know what I'm saying? We have to have something that we can tell them in order for them to understand who they are. You know what I mean? So they can understand who they are, what their purpose is, where they, and their standings on the planet. That's the thing about a good story. It gives you, it has a certain type of underlying moral value to it. And so what we have to do is decide on what are we going to really be teaching our children here in this wilderness in North America, where we sending them, when we're dealing with this educational system. We like not to deal with too much empirical data, but we want to deal with more scientific data. And a lot of the science is heavily coded with racism, white supremacy. Now we got more and more information coming out to prove that we've been on the planet for, not only hundreds of thousands, millions of years, that is pushing the timeline back further and further. How are we to start telling our, how are we to separate when we stop using science and just start dealing with our own story? Like how what happened to the family? Left out.
That's up.
All right. No, that's what I was just putting that out there as a thought and a question. Like, what do we start teaching our how should we go about teaching our children about what's going on with it?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, we have to come honest that, first of all, the only thing out here is the truth and not a fact. So I'm comfortable saying to my one and to my nieces and nephews that, we can't, there's no record to show when we haven't been here.
Well, that's true. That's true indeed. And I think that probably would be the best. That would probably be the best stance to hold too. Because there's no record to show when we have not been here, so we can't say when we haven't been here. We just know we always were.
Okay. I mean, that's good enough for me right now as a starting point.
No, definitely. Definitely. Mm-hmm. I definitely respect that. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and let me see. Let me pull my article. I'll go ahead and read this article. To show y'all what this that these folks is talking about here. Here we go. Jawbone fossil discovered in Ethiopia. Its oldest known human lineage remains. Around 400,000 years older than previous discovery of Homo lineage, 2.8 million year old jaw and 5 teeth were found on a rocky slope in the Fall region. Discovered on the hillside in Ethiopia are the oldest remains ever found that belong to the genus Homo, the lineage that ultimately led to modern humans. Fossil hunters spotted the jaw poking out of a rocky slope in the dry and dusty far region of the country about 250 miles from Addis Ababa. The U.S.-led research team believed the individual lived about 2.8 million years ago when the now parched landscape was open grassland and shrubs nourished by tree-lined rivers and wetlands. The remains are 400,000 years older than the fossils which had previously held the record as the earliest known specimens on the Homo lineage. The discovery sheds light on a profoundly important but poorly understood period in human evolution that played out between 2 and 3 million years ago when humans began the crucial transformation from ape-like animals to forms that use tools and eventually began to resemble modern humans. This is the first inkling we have that transition to modern behavior. We were no longer solving problems with our bodies but with our brains. But they're saying, it's only found 40 miles from where they found the what they call the Lucy Degnesh, where they found Degnesh at. Only it says 40 miles from there, but these fossils have shown the more modern traits that they connect with what they would call the Homo lineage. Now they're saying that they got to back up the line of the Australopithecus afarensis. They got to back that line up because they're saying, well, this one didn't die out. Now, when you look at, if you ever look at any of those, how they give you the artist like rendition of what these people look like. If you look at the Australopithecus afarensis, right? This is the. Oh no! All right, no. That's Homo afarensis that we're talking about. That's Homo afarensis. I'm mistaken. Wait a minute. I want to record. Let me redact that. I'm talking about Homo afarensis. That's the only one that they even make look like an African. Like when they do all that, they're taking digitally recreate what they look like and do an artist rendition of what they would say they look like. The only ones that ever look like Africans is Homo afarensis, which was which was alleged. Now this looked just like an African. Looked like a Khoisan, matter of fact. I would say that the what they call the Homo afarensis looked just like a Khoisan. But as I said, with this new jawbone, the timelines have to change. You see here. Like I said, they push what they say are humans. They push the human timeline back 400,000 years. So now what they're going to do at school? I can't wait for Mekara to get on the line. What they going to do at school, Mekara? What's going on now?
Yeah, that ain't nothing, Brother B. That just mean they get to sell more books.
Right? Yeah.
This whole shit is tomfoolery, yo. You feel me?
Yeah. Now, you're right about that. There's one thing that can happen, more books. Yeah, that's exactly what can happen. Now, they're saying that this was a 200, got these humans 200,000 years after what's supposed to be the ape that we changed from Lucy. Now they're going to have to move after, that's what I was saying, that's what I meant to say. They're going to have to move the date for Australopithecus afarensis. Hey, I'm really tired of these fuck-ass names, man. But, in order for us to stay scholastic, we'll make sure we get the names. Let's see who that was that found this. Let's see, come on. All right, this is Ethiopian found this. An Ethiopian Chaluchu Soyon, an Ethiopian graduate student at Arizona State. But Arizona State's William Kimball, you see who got the credit? The white man wrote the paper on it. Now what they want to do is, now they're trying to figure out, since the date go back 400,000 years further, right? So now they got to figure out, is this a new one? Is this a different human? Or is this just an older fossil of a human we already been identified? Which I'm saying is a human hybrid. I'm not accepting just straight human like that. If you can do what you want to do. So we ain't finding no, like I said, again, we're not finding no evidence of the African never being here. All this type of stuff right here just further bolstered the claim. But what they want to do is, like I said, they want to take us into that animal realm. Then that way that can back up some of these brothers with this crazy spaceman stuff where the aliens created everything. And that's one of the other problems that we have, is that that's going to become a large problem for aliens did all of this. And we're going to really, without people turning everything metaphysical, that's what one of the problems is. Everything is, we can't do it. There's no way it's possible for us to do it, because the white man is the real devil, real live devil. They're saying that he got special magic powers that was granted to him by God. God granted him superpowers, or the aliens granted him superpowers, and the only way that we can ever defeat him is through some type of interaction with these other alien beings who made the white man. And I'm not in line with this shit at all. So I think that our people really going to have to settle down and get to really putting out our own, we need our own schools. If you're not schooling, you need our own schools, man. I'm telling you, that's something that I think that everybody going to have to start working on. It's got to be like a total national effort to either homeschool or have some homeschool collectives and take our children out of these schools, because they're going to rock the child's brain. Trust me on that. Going to rot your child's brain. They're going to come home with these theories. Because, see, what happens is, this is why the alien things work. Is because when they teach them this evolution thing, right? In your mind, when you're young, there's no way that you can grasp that an ape turned to a human and created the things that you see on the planet, while they're still saying that we were evolving at the same time, and that now and during this age we are the greatest that we've ever been. So when you see things in history that seem to be great, you're hard pressed to give the credit to the people of that time. So it's ease to place God in there, The place, or the place the devil, or place aliens, demons. You know what I'm saying? It just make an easy opening for you to put those type of thoughts in. You know what I mean? Because your children, you know, like I said, when you that age, it's hard for you to grasp them concepts. You like, man, how could a person turn from an 8? And we right now, the best that we ever been, how could they build that back then? They had to be savages. They had to be in the jungle, going crazy, wilding, and everything else. There's no way that they could come up with technology like that. That's this where you start to see how it's a total program. This is when you see where, like our brother Mikra has spoke before about how this is where you see the empirical data and scientific data backing one another to keep us just under the crooks of racism, white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, see, Brother B, reason why you in this problem is because you don't know how to meditate, brother. You don't know how to heal yourself, brother.
You know what? It might be it. I ain't took enough rock salt baths. You know what I'm saying?
You ain't love yourself enough, brother. You too much filled with hate. That's the problem, brother.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. It's the hate that do it to me. Because, you know, if I'm hating, when do I got time to love?
You should be loving everybody every day, not hating, brother.
And you know, and why should I love? Because it's not the white man's fault. We brought him here. So people come
there you go,
time.
brother. Now you talking, brother.
Right? You know, it ain't the white man's fault. We made the white man. It's our fault. It's our
there
fault.
You go, brother. You always been a savage, brother. There you go, brother.
Right? Oh, man. What the hell?
It's that kind of language that's going to cause this sister to catch a charge. I know.
But that's what they say to us. Man. That's what they say to us. We hating too much. We don't love enough. We haven't learned how to turn the white man hate into love for us. It's something we doing.
If we would change our much, that's why you trapped in hate, brother. You think about them too much. They ain't your problem, brother.
Yeah, no, they ain't your problem. They ain't your problem. Don't you see Michael Jordan? You see Tiger Woods? Look at LeBron James. That ain't your problem. That ain't your problem. Black people own businesses. We go to college, we get degrees too. Why you burn? And you know, they run that. And once the person say that shit, you know, that's the next thing is, oh, man, listen.
And the type of people that get mad when you talk about the cracker, brother. They be wanting to fight you, brother. They be wanting to cut you off, brother.
Nah, no. Once they say that type of thing, right? This where we at. Like once you say that type of thing, because like we dealing with racism, white supremacy, man. This thing take Thursday, and the reason why I wanted to bring that article up is because of the system of racism, white supremacy, which we got to stay on. We got to stay beaten on the fact that this thing exists. Is that you see in the science they came up with the answer to life, and now they going to try to find it. They trying to find a way to make what they said right. See, you can't deal with people when that's their angle. See, they got the wrong angle on looking for information. Their angle is we already got the answer. We just going out to prove it. And that's the wrong goddamn angle when you're dealing with it. You know, when you're dealing with anybody or anything, that's the wrong angle to already know the answer before you go out there to go get the goddamn facts. Because once you start collecting all the facts together, you got to have a little opening for that, something that I'm looking for, what I think might be wrong. You got to have a little opening for that. So that way you can be guided by the facts. But if you ain't got no opening for what I think might be wrong, then you don't got no problem. You don't got proper discretion with dealing with the information that you receive. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that you shouldn't slant nor slight your information, but goddamn, you got to watch when it's slanted and slighted towards you. Now, with that being said, I know family on the line, what I was going to say is that once I hear people speaking in a mannerism to defend our crippling here, I know that they defend homos. So that's an automatic giveaway. That this is a we are the world person. And if they don't find that wrong, automatically start thinking that you might be gay. It just come across real quick. Real quick. You got to prove to me that you ain't no bad. You know what I'm saying? Because I be wondering about that shit. Like, damn, this nigga gay? It might be some gay shit you saying right there. I don't know. It might be, though. You know? Brother, you losing your mind, Negro? But, anyway, like I said, man, that's the thing about people that we dealing with, space alien and that type of talk. And we got to really come back to saying, listen, I think Sister Camille was on point, dead on with. We just have to explain it, is that there's no record of when we have not been here on the planet. So that, with that being said, we've had cycles on the planet, ups and downs, as many years as we've been here. We've seen it all happen more than once.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got to tell them the real mystery is how the other people get here. That's the mystery.
That's the mystery. Yeah, that's the mystery that we're figuring out, and we looking hard right now. We're crossing our T's and dotting our I's with this information right now on how exactly did these other individuals get here on the planet. You know, hard pressed to call them people. I don't mind calling them people, but you know, sometimes it's hard pressed the way that they act.
No, I think creatures is the right term, brother. Be creatures would be the proper term.
Mm-hmm. Created creature, as Walter Williams would say.
No bad.
What you said, Sister Camille?
You know that none of the created creatures have been here 500,000, 200,000, 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't no Chinese. Ain't no cracker beef. Ain't no goddamn Arab. The latest, and I'm look at that crazy too, is the cracker beef to 20,000, and then the Mongoloid cracker beef Asian 10,000 to 5,000. Boom. They ain't got nothing.
See? So where they come from?
We being racist.
Yeah, see, brother, see. That's your problem, brother. Y'all too hateful, brother.
Well, I just want to say to that, don't be mad at me that none of the cracker beef scientists can answer that question. Don't be mad at me. How did you fight that shit? Via shake out the Dion. So don't be mad at me.
You know, they try to push the Mongoloids back. They try to push they try to get them longer. They try to get them up to 20,000. They try to give them some time. But they gotta figure out that. Like I'm gonna pull the article. I gotta find it. But I've seen something where they're trying to give them like 20,000 years. But see, they got to pull off how did they not only evolve from like out of the Mongoloid, because see they got like pieces of that Mongoloid in them, but not how only did they evolve out of the Mongoloid, but how did the Mongoloid evolve out of Australia and all of them so quick together? Like how the hell did that happen? That's rapid as hell for you to turn from Neanderthal to Neanderthal, Denisovan, Homo sapien to back to Dinosaur Homo sapien over here and Neanderthal Homo sapien over here? How the hell did y'all do this? Like, that's some super shit. Like, that got to be like 100,000 years all these things happen. And they don't got no time like that. They don't got enough time for that. That, like, if you were to say, like I'm saying, if you're looking at the science, scientifically, it would have to, if you go by the numbers, how they use that, it take like 100,000 years for at least something close to that to happen, right? And that's through the mixing and just mixing, and then y'all taking grafting down. You no longer mix with them anymore. You only mix it with these over here. So then that way, over time, whatever you had or that genetic, it start to, get smaller and smaller and smaller and diffuse out. But right, the thing is this though, is just like the time period that they have to work with though is only like a 25,000 year and 50,000 year period. They don't got a time period long enough. And see, this the thing is that we can see the Nile Valley African being the Nile Valley African for 20,000, 25,000 years, easy, just being like this is with no problem. You automatically can definitely say that, listen, they was humans straight up and down for at least 25,000, 50,000 years ago. So what the hell is going on with the rest of these people? How come we ain't changed that much? You know what I'm saying? What is going on with the rest of the world, that in the rest of the world you turn into all this other shit? What's going on in Africa that we don't automatically mutate into some other type of shit? We just don't stay the same. There's something wrong. And even ones who, when they be trying to pull out that, like we all live on the same, like when they pull that color, what's that, the UV ray, the UV ray chart, or how dark you are, depending on how much the UV rays hit on you. But how we get them black ass Neanderthals? How you get them black ass Dravidian Neanderthals? They black as hell. Man, what the fuck happened? What happened? Because and I'm saying that is like, what was in their environment? They were still like in the same type of environment that we was. But what the hell was going on there that you all then turned to Neanderthal?
Well, the thing that UV ray chart don't explain to me is the radiation output of Ra, 25,000 BC, 10,000 BC. There is a recorded record of a solar event that took place 11,565 BC, if I'm correct on that exactly, but definitely 11,000. That was recorded by our ancestors, as well as it being some artifacts showing that not the Aztecs, who was before the Aztecs, the Olmecs had a documentation of the same event occurring. That's one for me, that UV ray chart can't do that. Okay? It can do it for today, but it cannot tell me what the radiation output was. See, for me, the melanin factor is a key in terms of your cerebral development alone. All right? The brain is heavily illuminated, as well as the spinal column.
Now, you saying that, I heard some bullshit. I'm going to have to check this, though. This joker was saying, oh, man, this brother sounded like one of the race. He hated this race. This joker said, man, y'all talking about melanin. Y'all talking about melanin on your skin. But white people got more neuromelanin than black people.
That's Ra. Don't make me pull out my African biological.
Y'all, I'm saying, listen, Queen, I just heard this yesterday. We're going to have to, look, I just heard this yesterday. We're going to get this right. We're going to get this right. I'm telling you, I just heard this. I said, come on now, man. We got to come up off of this stuff. See, we just want to go into, we just want to prove wrong what black folks said.
Everything but the African. That's all I hear. When I hear the land of move, when I hear all kind of shit, everything but the black African.
Come on, brother. Them your children, brother. What you talking about, brother? Why you so mean to your children, brother?
Right? We produce everything on the planet. That come right out of the... I ain't even going to say that shit. I ain't even going to say it. But you know, they will fix their goddamn lips to say that the black
you know they were stuck in the ice box.
There
wasn't no sun over there, and they just lost all their color because the sun just didn't want to shine over there.
They lost their melanin. They just fell out. Their hair got long and just grew over their necks and shit. Listen, man. What I'm saying is this, is that I'm not saying Shiki and the joke was wrong. What I'm saying is that at that point in time, with the information that the brother have coming from up out of these schools and dealing with that information, he could deal with the radio dating and shit like that. So he knew what time, what was what, and all of that. But I think that he didn't really have all the proper information on who this Tamil who was, into his genetics like that, to understand that this thing is genetically a separate species. I don't think he understood that there was a separate species at that time. Huh?
Sheikh Diab don't say he African, or that he came from the African. He's giving dealing with the evidence that is the physical evidence that's being presented. That if anything, the only evidence that they can pull on is the Grimaldi.
Yeah.
All right? Mm-hmm. Who got caught up in the Ice Age and the real scientific effects of not having the sun and what was found in some of them caves when they dug up them damn bones. All right? He's saying that, but he makes it clear in Civilization of Barbarism that we are not the same.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. No, and I was just saying that I don't think that he understood what was going on. Like, all right, now you got the Grimaldi, right? And they saying that the Grimaldi lost the skin tone, right? But we got these goddamn Mongoloids living up there been living there for tens of thousands of years, just as dark as hell. Now, that's my whole thing is that I can't see that the African went up there and changed into that thing through no area pressures. I don't think there's nothing that nature could just do to make us turn into a Neanderthal.
He don't say that. No, he don't say. He don't even really believe, from what I got from his work. He's dealing with the concept of the Neanderthal coming from the scientists. He's not even.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He only dealing with it from the scientists.
How that Cro-Magnon man came about. How that Cro-Magnon man came about out of motherfucking came about, and how its nearest relatives come out of France, Basquez of France. So that's what he's dealing with. If you know, because look, there is, like he shows, there is no interruption in the metamorphosis of the Africanus. I'm going to put it that way. All right? No metamorphosis. We go through every stage that the Cracker Beast scientist says that man has went to become Homo sapiens sapien. There's evidence of it continual in Africa. There's no break. That's no place else. Okay? Mm-hmm. Well, he's dealing with the science information that these crackers put out here.
Now, that's what I'm saying. He's dealing with it. The way he's dealing with it is from how the cracker put the science out. Like, no, listen, no matter what, this is what your science say. Mm-hmm. the same way that Dr. Ben, that's why the only reason Dr. Ben had Jack Nash and all of that inside of his book is because you got to deal with it, even because they dealing with it from a scholastic standpoint. So you got to prove it through all of the points of information that they're giving you. Because I don't think
and that's what makes you a serious visionary, brother. Born, when you're saying how we got to get to the point now where we are producing our own story of origin. Because think about the elders before us. It makes sense that you have this, the ancestors touched you to have this, I'm going to say prophetic vision, okay, of what is going to come. Because they were dealing with breaking down the scientific lies that were existing when they came in the world at the time they came in. Feel me? Mm-hmm. And I think the answers was for all of them, and particularly Sheikh Anta Diab and his creation of the carbon-14 dating laboratory that they, destroyed when he after his death, because he came in and debunked all their bullshit at the end of the day and took what their scientific laws, like Gober's law. Gober's law said that for humans, there's only two ways that we will have changes over time, right? Either climatic or geological change cause us to adapt physiologically. You know what I'm saying? And he deals with that. He really deals with that. And so, like I said before, so it's all just a theory.
Yeah, it's all just a theory. We're going to have to rebuild our story. We're going to have to rebuild our story. You know what I'm saying? Because, we have no break in our stories. We have no break. That's what the thing is. When you find that we got, all right, we got 75,000-year-old calendar. Look, that pushed us too far back into the goddamn evolutionary trail. That pushed us too far back into the timeline. When apes wasn't creating no goddamn calendar. Ape ain't do no shit like that. Man. That pushed us 200,000 years back, 250,000 years back. Once you start to recognize how science to come up with a 26,000-year calendar, that it's going to take you 250,000 years back, man, to get that shit to work correct. And I can't see an ape tracking time like that, or have any reason to track time like that. What would be the reason for an ape to track time? What would be the reason? Like, what purpose would the ape have for tracking goddamn time? You know what I'm saying? They got the the Omo skull. You know what I mean? And that's 150,000 years old. Come on, man. Y'all not going back, and that's going to be like the first, like the Homo sapiens sapiens. You know what I mean? And that, so I'm like, when that's 150,000 years back, then you add another 250,000 years back. Well, add another 100,000 years back, and you'll start to see that they should start to unravel. As a matter of fact, where's my book at? Let me go grab my book on evolution.
Well, you got, like I had mentioned on the other show, which I didn't come back with, which I had got from Brother Ankh was the first one to hit me with it, and I checked it out. And, the brother was on point. Was the article about 70,000-year-old African settlement on Earth by some Polish archaeologists. Again, it just shows how even up to this point in time, we got all kind of cracker beasts up in our shit. You know what I'm saying? All of them. Polish, British,
Mhm.
all of these motherfuckers up in there. But anyway, they do during an ongoing excavation in northern Sudan, they have discovered the remains of a settlement estimated to be 70,000 years old. This find, according to researchers, seems to contradict the previously held belief that the construction of the permanent structures was associated with the so-called Great Exodus from Africa and the occupation of the southern region of Europe and Asia. This new evidence points to a much more advanced level of human development and adaptation in Africa during the Middle Paleolithic time or age. So, get that on, Brother Bourne.
Mhm.
Everybody knows what settlement means.
Right, and that settlement 70,000 years back, and they saying that they barely want to give us 200,000 years. They say humans don't. And so now when you say that, right, you got to remember that fall into a range where humans was just that means that humans was just beginning. Ain't no like, all right. Now when you say that, y'all got to realize that means that it was the first 2, 3, 4 of them 200,000 years ago. You understand? It wasn't like all of a sudden 100,000 humans popped up on the planet. Like it was the Neanderthal all over the place, and then all of a sudden they just said, fuck it, we human now. The next generation of babies just all popped out human. Didn't know shit happen like that. So now you got to encompass the time that it take to come together to create the idea to create a village. That shit is too short of a time. It's going to take 100,000 years for y'all to even get y'all population up. You get the population up. It's going to take 100,000 years. You're going to get your population up and get your development up and get everything about how to develop, to get your math together, all your little sciences, because people don't build villages on the sides and just put a hut right here and put this up. People, every time you look at any civilization anywhere and you start looking at settlements, they all have some type of scientific alignment, or mathematical, or some type of natural purpose, like they're always placed in a certain pattern, depending upon what society they're dealing with. So that's dealing with some type of observation, or like I said, some type of mathematical prowess or scientific prowess that takes time to develop. None of this shit is just overnight shit. So let me see here. And so, at that same time, 250,000 years ago, you supposed to have been big furry monsters walking around. Let me put that back. Got my she can't just drop real quick. Let me see here. Yeah, see the Mongoloid fossils. Yeah, see right here. That's 20,000 years. And it's in there. Let's see. This page 37. Origin of humanity. According to Toma, the Mongoloid fossils known to exist only in the recent warm period, about 20,000 years ago in southern Siberia, Anatolia, Gora, Malta, Burette, where they are accompanied by human representations of the Mongoloid type, may have resulted from a Neanderthalization of Near Eastern Neanderthal when Siberia was habitable as far as 61 degrees latitude north. The author bases his reasoning on the fact that the Paleo-Siberian and the Mongoloid fossils, like the Neanderthal, generally do not have canine fossae, but have high, large, and rounded sockets. Yet the same author in the same article describes the Near Eastern Neanderthal as having precisely canine fossae and therefore are able to be classified as Proto-Cro-Magnons. Still, according to Talmud, it was not until the Neolithic period, 6,000 years ago, that the Mongoloids gained a definite selective advantage in their original environment. Consequently, one might expect to find Mongoloid features in many of the Asiatic populations not descended from the Mongoloid climate. Now, listen, this is what they're saying about species. According to this, exposing the viewpoint of William H. Howells, according to which evolution always involves a certain amount of anagenesis, meaning perfecting without the possibility of diversification, and a certain amount of cladogenesis, meaning the birth of several branches of which only one advances to perfection. Soma maintains the most probable hypothesis for humanity's evolution is polycentrism, which is not to be confused with polyphyletism. Let me check. According to this perspective, a species can originate from several other species belonging to different families or ancestral types. Thus, it was assumed at the beginning of this century that whites descended from chimpanzees, blacks from gorillas, and yellows from orangutans. The three races would then have come respectively from three separate ancestral types: Pangolo, Pongo. This would only allow to say, I, the Caucasoid, descended from the chimpanzee. I have nothing in common with the black who descends from the gorilla or the yellow who descends from the orangutan, although all three of us are human. The purpose of this was to find that whatever caused the difference in origin that might justify racial superiority is Valois, who demonstrated in 1929 the impossibility of polyphyletism. Thoma showed that polycentrism began with Theodor Mollison of Munich in 1931 and was developed later by F. Weyrich in 1943. Now you see, this what the white man was. This how the white man took the information. Now you realize what they're saying. You know, we all develop out of these three separate type of apes. You feel me? Which is crazy in his own self. But he looking at it and he see the white on the chimpanzee, say that's us. He see the black on the gorilla, say that's them. He see the yellow looking red fur on the damn orangutan, say that's the damn Chinaman. And he been believing that for a long time. And so all of this science that he's been putting together has been forcing us to look into that direction. That's where his science is saying that, look, man, no matter what anybody else says, this is what we are, this is where we come from. So since they've stated that point and stood on that point so hard, that there's billions of dollars wrapped up in this. You know what I'm saying? So they can't come up off of this point, no matter what type of information that they come up that disproves it. So, you know, we just dealing with building our own centralized story for our children to understand that he's a created being. We got to put that into the story. It got to be a story because all his science says it, and it can't really prove where we came from, but it definitely proves that somehow he got some type of other animal. So saying that, you know, the lines is open. If anybody want to add on or object, it's up to you. All right. I hear you clear your throat. I thought you had something to say. You know that?
Oh, my bad. I thought I was on mute and shit. I was comfortable handling my biz, you know. But I got some things that I do want to say, though. And just want to go from Shagan to Dia. As he says, if one bases one's judgment on morphology, the first white appeared only around 20,000 years ago, the Cro-Magnon man. He is probably the result of a mutation from the Grimaldi Negro due to an existence of 20,000 years in excessively cold climate of Europe at the end of the last glaciation. The Basques who live today in the Franco-Cantabrian region where the Cro-Magnon was born would be his descendants. In any case, there are many of them in the southern region of France. The Chan Soleil man, who would be the prototype of the yellow race, appeared in the reindeer period, about 15,000 years ago, in the Magdalene age. Is he a Mongoloid born in the cold climate from both stocks of the last Grimaldi in Europe and the new Cro-Magnon? Question mark. In any case, considering his Drosophilic trait, he, talking about the shape of his head, he could only have been a Palo-Siberian and not a true yellow man like the Chinese or the Japanese, because the later is a brachiocephalic in general, and we know that this morphological trait did not exist in the upper Paleolithic age. Now, for me, as he's putting question marks here, the fact remains, the cracker beast can't show nothing that it can say that I'm similar to, that I come from past 20,000 years. Now, can there be a mutation that can occur? I don't know. But we got two questions here in this book in the beginning of chapter 1, where he's dealing with the cracker beast, Dr. Louis Leahy, and he's saying that the birthplace of humanity, through his work, was in East Africa, the Great Lake regions around the Omo Valley. Now, it says here that two ramifications that have not been sufficiently emphasized until now have come to light as a result of this research. Humankind, born around the Great Lake region, almost on the equator, is necessarily pigmented and black. The global laws call for warm-blooded animals to be pigmented in a hot and humid climate. 2, all the other races, this is their theory, derive from the black race by more or less direct filiation, and the other continents were populated from Africa at the Homo erectus and Homo sapiens stages 150,000 years ago. The old theories that used to state that blacks came from somewhere else are now invalid. Now, in the same book as y'all have all read, all he does is put what is physically available at his time. And I ain't seen nothing yet to contradict that. If we're going to deal with the cracker beast, the only way the cracker beast can have any kind of saying that, any way that could say that it, at the end of the day, come from the black seed, would be when we haven't reached Homo sapiens sapien, number 1. And that African at that stage in time, I'm saying for 450,000 years, because, see, there was 3 glaciations. The only thing that has been found in them caves, the main thing that's been found in them caves is bones that are showing to have the rickets disease, according to his own personal study. Now that's a vitamin D deficiency, which brings us back to the sun. The relationship of sun and melanated people.
Always available, always 100% authentic. NBAtickets.com, the official ticket marketplace.
Right, that show that he definitely got some type of mix. They got some type of mix in them. You know, they somehow The only way they could be like what they are is for us to be, is for them to have some type of African in it, some type of human in it.
Right, but not an evolved African, not a sapient African.
Yeah, I don't think that's what I'm saying. That's where it's like, what? It wasn't. It definitely wasn't a regular African, because all the Africans. See, that's where you can see that all the Africans in Africa was already evolved into Homo sapiens sapiens. See, that's where that evolutionary thing breaks down, is because how can you have why would only this one population right here develop into something and then have to go out and transform everything else into that? Because, I don't know. I'm going to just have to keep looking. But the shit just it ain't adding up. And I'm trying to figure out now what I'm going to tell my baby. Because every time I turn around, the damn timeline gets pushed and moved around.
I should. But, we fucking with the lion beast,
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to do, like you said, our own work.
We're going to definitely have to do our own work. I don't do anything other than that.
Black Power.
Black Power. What's going on? So, how are you, family?
Oh, man, loving these conclusions y'all coming to, man. You know what I mean? We're going to have to do our own work. That's bottom line.
Yeah.
It's fascinating because, like y'all was breaking down earlier, we have a long track record of being in the same physical atomical way we are now, in terms of our brain capacity, us walking upright, and what's real. What you gotta watch is when they doing this dating, that you can't date DNA. So what they do is they have to date the stratigraphy in which they find. So you see what I'm saying? Whether it can be through carbon dating, but in order to do carbon dating, you got to have some organic material. So they got shit like potassium, argon, and so forth. Like you said earlier, radiometric and so forth. Thorough luminescence, you know what I mean, and so forth. But you even got to watch that, because each dating system or whatever you want to call it, they each have to be, quote, calibrated. And the calibration can be 500 years to 10,000 years. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't really apply to us because we have the longest ongoing fossil record, the longest ongoing linguistic record, the longest ongoing archaeological record, the longest going physical record of still being here. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think
our culture with continuity.
Right. I think that's what the European really finds fascinating about the African in regards to our endurance, how we endure, because you gotta look, this is a species of people whose whole culture is centered around death. So to some extent, they got bone collections of species that have been extinct, for example. And when you look at the timeline of the African, even under natural pressures and even under artificial pressures like right now what we're seeing, we still enduring. And that's key to understanding. We're not going to use religion to say, we're going to give the planet its due props in regards to what it manifests to be here and what was only here that was created for a short time. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And when you can come to that conclusion and have an open mind about that, then when you look at their so-called data on what they use to convince the world that certain individuals, and you have to have that mind state too, certain individuals came from apes. You see, they'll give you a timeline, for example, of a particular, they'll give you the illusion of a particular species, for example. And like y'all were breaking down earlier, the earliest evolution is skin color. But skin color only go back 6,000 years. So even in the Neanderthal that was running around, and that was in that documentary that you said, Brother Born, with old boy who was doing that RH negative, not out of Africa. He was showing that they was blue eyes and dark skin, you know what I mean? But and then you the first person who brought that attention to the genetic issues that India has. Now, if we put on the map, there's a plateau. I was talking to the professor, you know, trying to get some information out, and he was talking about the Turks. And he put the Turks. He said the Turks come from a stronger Neanderthal stock than Jews do. And I'm like, dude, I thought these was the same up, you know. He's like, He said, look on the map. And then when he was giving me the overview of the progression geography to where they are now, it reminded me of what Walter Williams said. If you remember that old Walter Williams was saying that the Greeks and the Romans are one and the same. He said that they both came from, you know, their history has been savagery, and they both came from the same area. But after that, he was being real quick, but he was basically saying that after that last Warmian ice age, when they, like what Dr. Clark said, that ice blocks was thawing out, they started coming down south. Because certain areas of geography was blocked off, and due to their primitive nature, they couldn't just come over to Africa first. So if you look on the map, they fell through that valley, and it's a plateau. Man, it's up, you know, I got to go to my notes right now because I wrote it down. But it's a plateau. And if you know the plateau is, it's like flat land. It's high flat land.
Flat land, yeah.
And it's right by the Caspian Sea. And if you're looking at primitive shit, you know, people move from migration patterns and so forth. You can sneak through there. In fact, motherfuckers still taking that path now. When you look at the issues that Georgia having over there by the Black Sea, that's like the motherfucking ground right there where you know what I mean? Because it's that plateau right there. I said, oh, he got a little point here. And they went into India first and put that first caste system in place. And then when you they still got the genetic issues now. I'm watching on YouTube the other day on India. Motherfucking 10-year-old boy, his hands and his feet, they grew like 4 times that of human beings. You know what I mean? And I'm like, you know, from that to hairiness to you name it, 3, 4, 5 limbs, arms coming up their chest, and they still hold. So we can't base this shit off just skin color. We gotta look at other issues, straight hair.
Now you're missing, right? That straight hair is one of the giveaways, man. That straight ass hair like that is a giveaway to some type of genetic defect or some type of deformity is going on. You are severely mutated when you have that straight hair. It's a telltale giveaway. And as you was thinking about that, you know, that whole region right there, you know, now, you can Google that.
With that, we tie the metaphysics with that. You know what I mean? And I don't like dabbling into it, but it's relevant right now. You know what I'm saying? We can say that their straight hair, you know, is really showing that they have lost their connection with Amun-Ra in regards to our hair stand up. So I know light skin, like Sandy, light skin. I got family lighter than that, but they got nappy ass hair still, and they have dark eyes. So we can't go off the skin color because it's really like you know, that being the last genetic change. Even when we look more recent, even when we look with the Greeks wasn't pale skin, blonde hair, blue eyed crackers. They look like Drake.
They was a Jew. They look like Arab.
They look like you know, I won't say Arab, a true Arab. I said true Arab. the true Arab that white folks is talking about. White folks is calling them sand niggas because they had nappy ass hair too. You see what I'm saying? Once upon a time ago.
I do that.
Yeah.
But you saying they look more like a Puerto Rican? They more like a Puerto Rican type of thing.
Well, you say Puerto Rican because some Puerto, I would say a Drake because Drake is a mulatto.
So you Greeks were half African?
Oh, no. Listen. The half shit ain't an issue at this point because ain't no pure stuff. Listen. White folks refined the German, Aryan, blue-eyed, blonde hair to what it is now. They refined that by committing incest, by standing among themselves. They do that shit right now. They'll only fuck with more recessive to throw off that blue-eyed because, like Francis Crest was saying, they want to preserve certain traits. You see what I'm saying? They want to preserve them to an extent, so they won't mix. Why did they kill Martin Luther King Jr.? He said, let's all love and get along. If we did that, there'd be no more crackers, right? Crackers killed him for that. So they still want to, they don't want to merge, they want to still preserve some of that recessiveness. You see what I'm saying? That's why when you see most of them cracker actors, that's the ideal that they portray to the world. If they wanted, and they'll do it through genetics. Remember, the Germans were the first ones who came up with sperm banks. We're just, trying to preserve. You got white women going in there and really, shit like a shopping list and shit. I want my baby to have blonde hair, blue eyes. I want them to be real strong, and they can splice and dice.
To say that the cracker beef Greeks look like Drake is to, first of all, acknowledge that the cracker beef derives from the African, and then you would have to not have a problem with the information. In fact, the information that Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop is putting out there ain't even saying it like that. The Sheikh Anta Diop, saying that the Greeks who had dark hair, their dark hair would be dark hair because of where they're coming from in Europe in relationship, again, to the sun. It do got to do with color in terms of melanin content because they're blonde and blue-eyed. Cracker beef are blonde and blue-eyed because of where they are deriving from or where they move up to in the far northern regions, further away from the sun, up in the goddamn cave, where the sun don't shine for 6 months at a time, and up northern places, northern regions. Okay, so
I have no problem. I have no problem with Sheikh Anta Diop. I'm only saying what the Europeans saying about themselves in regard to. That's why they use semantics words like Indo-European. What the fuck's an Indo-European? Meaning he's not the stock of a European. Now, when you even look at the Greeks on the wall, when you look at the Romans who came after the Greeks, when you look at the Romans who wanted to bury themselves like Egyptians, when you look at them, the motherfuckers got dark eyes. They pale, but they don't have the stock. They have a more, like I said, like a more a Jew type looking stock. It's hard to. It's color was meaning in terms of we talking about genetics. In terms of evolving to color.
Yeah. Like this, all I'm seeing.
When Sheikh Anta Diop came up with that, I have no problem when they came up with that. I'm saying what studies have been showing now, what they're showing now, crackers are saying, the more they look at the DNA, they're saying, damn, the most recent evolution. I'm not saying we were all just black women. I'm just saying they had hue. They had a form of hue, but they also had pale motherfuckers among themselves.
All it does, again, is validate what Sheikh Anta Diop put out there about the Grimaldi getting caught up, and the majority of them coming out of the southern region of France and Spain. All right? I can see them having dark hair, and what he is saying is plausible. All right? But I want to ask this question. What is in sunlight? I think this is what kills me with this argument with genetics, as if sunlight is not don't have nothing to do with genetics. Is not DNA in sunlight? Has it not been found? So, yes, Sheikh Anta Diop, without going there specifically, I'm taking it there with Sheikh Anta Diop and also the information from Dr. King and his African biological psychiatry that sunlight can alter, cause a mutation, a genetic mutation, the lack thereof.
But all right, now this is where. Now this where right now look at the phenotype. Look at the phenotype.
I'm sticking to the fossil record. Meaning when I say the fossil record, when I say the fossil record, meaning when we look at the Grimaldi, the bones say it's African. You can look at the skull of an African and a Crocker, and you can see the difference. That's the point I'm making. Before I would get the skin tone, so I know it's an African that you can dress it up what color you want. But it's an African, and that motherfucker over there. I mean, I can show you. The occipital bone. That's the back piece, the back plate of the fragment of your skull. Crackers and Neanderthals, they have hollow occipital bone. It's a supraoccipital fossil, some shit like that. I'm not getting the correct Latin word, but what's distinctive notice about it, meaning when they go into France and they find in Grimaldi. Meaning they find it modern. Man, that's why they give you this illusional theory that they were somehow cohabitating. They only come up with that because they finding bones in the same stratigraphy. That don't mean they was mixing. That comes to the aspect of maybe some Africans got caught up in their last ice age, and it was something else over there. But we know when we look at the bones, when we look at the Grimaldi, first off, before we even could see it as African, when they found it in the brachia, which is the limestone, whatnot, it was in fetal position, her and her daughters. You see what I'm saying? That's when you look at, and it was a complete set of bones. When we look at Neanderthals, ain't no complete set of bones. But they'll give you this theory of not even a theory. They try to say it was what the crackers say? Like prehistoric hyenas, like the saber-tooth tiger, prehistoric hyenas. They pushing, but he's saying that the out of Africa model, yes, but the cracker also saying we different. He's saying that we evolved on our own, coming from Degmeses. Degmeses going back 1.7 million years, or some kind of weird ass hominid creature, and they ain't just finding one or two; they finding the grip of them motherfuckers, and they all got them long brain casings with them hollow occipital bones in the back. With faces busted up, missing up, you know what I'm saying? I'm just sticking to the fossil record, you know what I'm saying? The color come later.
So that's what I'm saying here. And I'm saying, when you made the initial statement about how the Greeks look, I'm saying that to go there is to give validity to shake out the Diop theory. Who was dealing with the bones? Who dealt with the Grimaldi being shown to be African? So I'm clear on that. I'm good with that. My only thing that I'm not good with is saying that the Greeks look like Drake, because ain't no evidence of that. What is there evidence is that they was cracker beats, dark hair.
It is evidence. I'm not understanding your argument, but go type in Greeks and images and look at the motherfuckers. They look like Drake. They ain't that old. They drew pictures of themselves.
Listen, I feel you on that, but the pictures that I've seen of Greeks, they look like cracker beats, cake beats that I see right now, that I see in Italy, in the south of France. Okay? They don't look like Drake.
Italian can never make an argument among when you read Michael Bradley's book, Anthropologist Queen.
Hold on 1 second, she was still going.
I want to say one more thing too, to the family. Also, be careful dealing with the cracker beats of today, telling you about the images of old. And I'll give you an example. Sylvester I, who was African? Who looked African? Right? He didn't look like Drake. Right? When you type him in, the pictures that you will see is of a cracker beast initially. They got him looking white. Until you go down and you see a sculpture. And then you follow that trail. then you find out that he don't look like a cracker beast. So, again,
Queen, I can send you a picture right. I can send you a picture right now. I can send you a picture right now of a temple in Egypt where the Greeks came in and plastered over some of our metal nature and put images of Christ figures and so forth. And the images of these motherfuckers look like Drake. But they're Greeks.
That the person who did it looked like Drake. I'm going to go by... If you're going to go by a little bit of Sheikh Anta Diop's work, why not go by it all? I'm going by Sheikh Anta Diop's work, all right? And according to him, the Cracker Beast, first white Cro-Magnon from about 20,000 years, their descendants come out of south of France, out of Spain, out of them goddamn caves, if I'm going to go there. No disrespect.
I have no problem with that, but you got to know there wasn't no Drake around when Sheikh Anta Diop was alive. I'm only doing that to give you a visual now. Sheikh Anta Diop ain't black. That motherfucker's a Jew stock, but he's a hybrid. He a first-generation mulatto.
I'm just going to interject this. When we look at the Indian, now listen, right? This is the question. This is the question here. Now, did the Indian go dark or did he get light? Because the Indian black is hell.
Brother Barn, look at the dark skin that the Indians have that you right. We all know about, but you brought the line when you told me they still got genetic issues that.
Exactly. Now, that's what
black Africans don't have genetic issues that white neurologic nervous system issues that white folks have, right? Mm-hmm. Blacks don't have those, but Indians do. But they have dark skin, so it goes beyond the dark complected skin. It's more or less something more rooted. That's the last genetic mutation. That's the last thing you lose when your pineal gland classified. Your last thing you lose is your dark skin. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, now that's where I was coming from. Is that something else is like, Indian is phenotypically a European. Like you could take an Indian phenotypically and put them up beside somebody from Switzerland, and their phenotype gonna be the same because we could just you can look up albino Indians and they just look just regular blonde hair white people. So that's what I was looking at is that somehow they
why did he use the swastika and why did he say the Aryan nation? Those two are Aryan those are Hindu words. Those are Indian terms. Mm-hmm.
That's why I think he got a connection to them Aryans. He got a real strong connection to them Aryans there.
The caste system. That's all you need to look at. The Indians got a caste system that goes beyond slavery. If the Dravidians, you can never be nothing. You can never be successful. You will always be at the bottom end of this. I mean, you got motherfucking rat farmers. And these are the Dravidians who are dark skinned, who got more. They're not dark skinned. They're in the south, but they got those Ethiopic still features. You see what I'm saying? And they catching hell. And all from the north. And if you notice, the north has expanded. The north has expanded to Pakistan. The Pakistanians are saying we Aryans too, and they still under Islam, but they still using the Aryan caste system. That's what's fascinating about Islam to this day. They still use that Aryan caste system. That's an Asian thing. Because you look at the Aryans, when you look at the history of the Aryans, a good book to read is I got it right here. Hold on. Asia Cultural Traditions. When you look at their prehistory, they got monuments like Egypt. Mm-hmm. Right? But all of a sudden, this new form of written text come with no monuments. The Vedas come. And when you look at this shit, this new caste system come out of nowhere, and they refer to them as being foreigners. They foreigners.
Yeah, the Vedas.
So we understand these motherfuckers is the same. You see what I'm saying? That's what they have in common in terms of their social policies in regards to culture domination, it fall back to their primary source. What's their primary source? Aryan.
And you saying that Hindu,
yes.
that Indian system is like that. I was just looking at a documentary, and they weren't even speaking of it, but they were showing like a model of their setup, and you can see like the feet is the black part because blackness to them is supposed to be it's supposed to be on up under everybody's feet. You know what I'm saying?
Now, Brother Bourne, if Noble Drew Ali say black mean death, and we know he got Hindu background, who is Kali? Kali is a female representation of Sekhmet. Look her up. She's standing on top of a cracker with the heads of crackers around her neck, and her skirt is made of the legs and arms of crackers. She's black. She represents death. She represents retribution.
Mm-hmm. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, and that's what you're right about that. That's what she wears. She wears a necklace of people's heads and shit.
That's why I said he attacked him saying black mean death. He attacked the source of it. Where does that shit come from? It is racist, but it's also cultural. Where's the cultural roots of it coming from? If this nigga wearing some Hindu shit, and you look at some of his teachings, he dealing with numbers. He dealing with jinns. That nigga, he dealing with that motherfucking Mesopotamia. You see what I'm saying? That caste order. All that shit, that's Asiatic shit.
Yeah, you saying that, right? He pulled up a lucky number book one day. I was looking at that. He pulled up, and I went to a store, and I seen that damn lucky number book in there. I was going to buy it, too. I said, I ain't going to get this shit. I don't want to spend my money on it. But I seen it. The same little lucky number book in a little black bookstore. I said, damn. I said, this is some shit black people using, huh? It was an old book, too, probably printed like the 40s, 50s. Old little lucky number book.
Mm-hmm. When you look at crackers, when you look at our ancestors talking about the beast up in the mountains, they would talk about the orange bearded man, orange hair. Red, orange hair. You see what I'm saying? It wasn't that blonde hair now as it was refined. It was hairy ass red, orange hair on their faces and shit. You see what I'm saying?
Yo, man, them motherfuckers are two stocks of goddamn wild men, man. I'm telling you, listen, man. I'm telling you, he's
Brother Porn, touching the Brother Porn of an Indian, and he had hair. It wasn't all black hair. It was red hair. I said, God damn. That red hair growing out his face. Behind this red hair growing out his face.
Like Sheikh Anta Diop said, the white Cro-Magnon man makes his first appearance around 20,000 years ago. Okay? Not black, not dark-skinned white man with orange hair. White. That's what I'm rolling with. Now, could there have not been 21,000 fucking brown skin or olive skin with orange hair walking around? True indeed. Because you're talking about a metamorphosis. You're talking about a mutation that happens over time. There's only two known factors, scientific factors, that changes us physically, that we adapt to, climatic and geological changes. So true indeed. But again, as Sheikh Anta Diop said, the cracker beast, white Cro-Magnon, 20,000, around 20,000 years.
Man, I'm saying 7,000. You give, I'll give them, I'll put them. I'm saying crackers are in a shorter span than 12. When he says Cro-Magnon man, I'm familiar with the term. Cro-Magnon man, when you look at that term, it says the first anatomical European. Ain't no Europe. So how will you have the first anatomical European? When they refer to Africans, they don't say they're African. They say Homo sapien, sapien. What the fuck does that mean? Homo sapien, sapien. Or archaic Homo sapiens. What the fuck is archaic mean? Old, right? When they even come to our classification of Homo erectus, they got to classify the African Homo erectus as being Homo ergaster. Why? Because it's so much of this species in Africa that don't reflect the fossil record anywhere else. That's why when Sheikh the Dib said it was six. He made it very simple. He said it was 6 in total. 3 left, but 3 stayed. All 6 can be found in Africa, but the only 3 that left, the 3 new, can be found throughout the world.
What I've been saying from the beginning, not unless I'm speaking another language, that in terms of my interpretation of what Sheikh Dr. Diop said. The only problem that we're having in terms of the amount of pigmentation and what I'm calling a cracker beast of European, and what you're saying it looked like at the end of the day.
I'm saying 20,000 years ago, that cracker still had hair. He was still looking like a beast. I'm saying 6,000 years ago when that nigga started shedding the white skin as we see now. That's all I'm saying.
I ain't got no problem with that either. The only problem I got is saying that the shit look black. That's where I got a problem at.
What you mean?
Did I not hear you describe it as being dark skinned with orange hair?
No. I said he had orange hair. The orange bearded man who stayed across the river.
Yo, listen, right? Hold on. Listen, right? I'm not saying that. Well, I'm listening to both of y'all, right? Can y'all hear me?
Black Power.
All right, Black Power. All right. This is what I think is this is what I'm saying, and I don't know if Nicaragua is this where he was coming from. I'm not saying that they looked at like Africa. I'm saying though that from the information that I've seen, also that they was a darker hue. You know what I'm saying? And that it was later on that they turned totally white. I'm gonna look up this information when the scientists say that they developed this SPM2 gene that turned them white. When they start to go all the way into that color that they are now. But before that, they looked like white people, but they just had a darker type of skin tone.
Brother Boy, I can handle that if you're saying 18,000, 10,000. I can handle that if you're saying 5,000. But if you're telling me by 332 BC, I can't handle that.
What I'm saying is
you got a so-called record of men describing these motherfuckers coming our answers, his children to come about these motherfuckers, which is in where I first read it was in African Biological Psychiatry with Dr. Richard King, a student of Dr. Ben, transcribed it in there. Okay? Describing where they coming from. All right? So when was the ancestor men supposed to have been on the planet?
Now listen, right? We got that. Now,
listen, come here. Come here. When you read Michael Bradley's book, The 13 Tribes of the Caucasus and the Iceman Inheritance, what he's saying is it's a more primitive cracker than what you know who's more violent than the cracker who running the world. He's saying that's the cracker that never left. He said, go pull up a map on Georgia. You know what Georgia, Europe is right now? Pull up Georgia right now, and then 2 weeks from now, we'll pull up that border again. You see, so when we look at the Greeks, when we look at the Greeks, and we know a little something about Greek, and you know how Greek had an influence over there. It was Egyptians already in that area. In Crete. You know what I'm saying? When we look at the early civilizations in Europe, you see European, this is over there. But the Greeks came out from a stock that wasn't as savage, that's all I'm saying, as savage as crackers who still had hair on their face. You know, we're coming out in waves. You got to look at the geography, you have to look at the conditions in terms of temperature, You start seeing the critters and all this come. They start coming in waves. Each one coming from different parts of a savage Iceland. The worst one is the one who never left. It's an Eastern, Western European beef. Russia is Eastern Europe. Western Europe is those who are in the warm waters of the Mediterranean, France, England. You'll never hear an Italian brag about his whiteness because, or Spaniard, like Dr. Clark say. And if if they say they appear white, Dr. Clark said never laugh directly in their face. He said be respectful. Cut your mouth to try to laugh because they've been mixing with us since the Carthaginian times. That's why because the Romans came and kicked their asses out. The Greeks did something that all the other savages didn't do. They want to integrate Egyptian culture with Greek culture. And before they get that shit started, they savage Roman cousins came and smashed that shit. They used it politically, like they're doing now. What I'm saying is, the culture and morality is what made them what they are in terms of the Egyptians. Because you have motherfuckers who was dark skinned and that was on their side as well. Race is an issue now in terms of, as we know it, that's a 15th century construction. You was identified by your morals, where you came from, and the geography of land. Mainly, your moral practices represented your spirituality. A lot of people at this time we talking about had nothing. These motherfuckers had warfare.
Race, indeed, was created by the faculty in the 1800s, no doubt. But it is a fact that like I'm talking about now. I'm talking about the dynastic period in particular and before. There was no mixing with the Kokobi. There was no mixing whatsoever. Okay? Not even at the time of the last one that they call America. Before Alexander. The Greeks come in, if you want to tell me that was happening, all right, maybe. But we also know from Dr. Walter Williams' work the resistance to them.
That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making, Queen. That's the point I'm making. The so-called Hittites come from Turkey. Come from that area where that plateau. Remember, find the name of this plateau in the geography map, and they come from that area where they got the strongest Neanderthal genes. Somebody buy a search engine right now, right? Human cannibalism in early Pleistocene of Europe and Atapuerca, Spain. In Spain, we find what they call the Cro-Magnon man is the Grimaldi African. You don't hear the word Grimaldi no more because everything. The Grimaldis are Africans in France that painted paintings in caves that don't fall in line with the development of Europe at this time, right? I'm saying they're African. I'm saying they're Africans. The Cro-Magnon man, when you look the word up, it's a new word, and it says the first anatomical European. These are Africans, right? But at the same time, you got Europeans who are Neanderthals. While Cro-Magnon man is in the cave, the African, because he's painting the savannah, he's painting about zebras. When you look at those paintings, it ain't no base. This shit is fucking up artists now. It's nice artistic ass work on these caves, right? At the same time, we find human cannibalism in the early Pleistocene in Europe and Atapuerca. Neanderthals, right? How the fuck Europeans are able to digest meat raw and raw milk? Right? I'm writing a paper on Neanderthal cannibalism for this cracker, right? So it's falling right in line with this discussion. When I hear the cracker talk, he has an issue. The cracker has an issue with saying we all come from Africa, and I have no. He's saying we different from y'all. And the more he talks, the more he shows anatomical differences. In terms of, like I was saying, the supraorbital fossa on the back with the occipital bone being hollow, long brain casings, no forehead. The most recent anatomical evolution for Europeans is a forehead and small faces.
Because the work does not show that they come from, do not come from. All right, well, for me, that's my interpretation of his work. Number two, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about the Neanderthal man, more honesty. I don't even know if it's really true. You know, that's the kind of thing that I'm going to have to study myself, knowing how the cracker beast gets down. All right? Now, the cracker beast may be an adaptation of the Homo erectus grimaldi going wrong. And the Neanderthals, shit of that. Again, it's not of the same stuff that I'm from. And in terms of the Europeans, I'm definitely standing by the work of Dr. Walter Williams that their arrival in North Africa, Turkey in particular, is quite recent.
I have no problem with that. All I'm saying is, based on me studying, checking the deal just as you have, and then doing my research, what I'm saying is the Neanderthal, the pictures they show you of the Neanderthal ain't real. The only real one I seen was from that video that brother Born, the artist out of Africa, and that one cracker said when they did the reconstruction, it was more like an ape, hairy ass ape. I mean, you couldn't see what skin color that motherfucker had because it was more like an ape. And once I seen that, I said, okay, I'm not gonna just rumble with what I seen right there. Let me go look it up. Every time I look up and I find the Neanderthal, they faces are the early archaic, so-called, even some of the Degmesis. Only one I found. Let me get my notes in a minute. One I found that did was they call it Homo rudolfensis, something like that. Rudolfensis or something like that, right? But it's smaller in stature. But they faces is smashed, and they got strong supraorbital ball, meaning they got that thick eyebrow crown that show from the eye orbit, like Northern whiskey. You see what I'm saying? They have foreheads, but their faces is missing. They have big ass, wide noses, but they didn't have a strong frontal nose bone. Like how we got nose bones that protrude. When you look at apes, their noses go in. I don't think the Neanderthal nose went in because when you look at the skull, even those that are fractured or smashed, that motherfucking nasal cavity is big, real big. And before they got to study these bones, they said, well, Europeans have thin noses because where they are, the air is thin in a cold environment. But when you look at Neanderthals, the nasal opening in their face region is too big to support that theory. You see what I'm saying? Of them having to have thin noses. And that's why Africans, when we get in cold weather, we catch runny noses because we got thick nostrils and very open nostrils because we breathe a lot of air. Air is indicative to red blood cells getting oxygen. Thin body structures and so forth. You see what I'm saying? So that's all I'm saying. I have no problem with Second Diaz's work. I'm just saying, I'm putting the cracker that we didn't know. When we look at the archaeological record and then we look at some of our ancestors describing these people, the orange-haired, thick-bearded man covered with red hair, and they would come down so often and cause havoc, and our ancestors would kick their ass and would basically push them to the front of a mountain. They wouldn't go into the mountain range, but they would put the symbol of a woman's vagina. And an elder told me this story. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, wow. and we would humiliate them. He said we would humiliate them. We put the symbol of a woman's vagina right there over, and they were savage. The orange, bearded, white hair. So we didn't know what fucking color they were. These motherfuckers had orange. They motherfuckers was hairy. When you look at the pictures of the motherfuckers, the Greeks was hairy. But what I'm saying, the Greeks, you have to watch the Greek society because the Minoan civilization, they've been mixing over there. And when you look at the early African orders in Europe, you're gonna find the Minoan period and so forth, and you're gonna see, well, look, niggas with white bitches, real talk. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I just recently found some evidence to show that the cracker beast saying that the Minoans is Greek and white is not true. All right? Straight up African. We were throughout that entire region. So, that is what it is. And Sheikh Anta Diop's work in Civilization of Barbarism shows that during the reign of Ramses II, Ursa, his imperial reign, we were throughout that region, out that entire region. So, and then we could go to George G.M. James, who shows how we set up temples throughout that region, as well as South America, which is now called this region here in North America, Blase Rock. Asia, what is called Asia, which we want to call India, the Dravidians, all that. So, that's where I'm at with it. Black Power?
Black Power. Yeah. Y'all still building? Yeah, we still building. I'm not gonna. We agreeing.
Oh shit! There I go.
The African play devices, so we agreeing. Yeah. Just using different terminology.
Black Power, y'all hear me?
Yeah.
All right, my bad. I was on mute. I'm talking. I thought that y'all was quiet listening to me. And so Brother James came in and said, y'all building. Well, listen, right, this is all I was saying is that I went to Yale one time, and at Yale at the museum, the gallery in there, it was they had Minoan, they had a section where they were showing some of the Minoan archaeological remains. And one of the interesting things was that you would see the Minoans painting themselves as being black with blonde hair, being black with blue eyes, being black with just wavy, not, I'm saying like very aquiline, looking with very white-looking features, but with dark skin. You know what I'm saying? Where it was something that was distinctively that's not an African, but it's not. The painting wasn't white like it was a pale white European. And if I can find, I might be able to find some online. But let me look at. You know what? I know what I'll do. I'll look into my pictures on Facebook because I know I'll put them pictures in there. I should put all that stuff.
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw. Not having like peppercorn hair.
Yeah, no peppercorn hair, but black and dark in color. I'm not even gonna say black, but like a brownish and then like a reddish tone color, like, and with that wavy hair. You know what I'm saying? I would, I'm gonna just throw this out here, right? We looking at this stuff, and history is written by the motherfucking victors. You know what I'm saying? History is written by the victors. But I wouldn't fail to say that there might have been Dravidians up there first, that these people who was dark like that, because remember, them people were still over there. And they had a cultural system that the white people who came up started to take use of. So they automatically knew that they had a natural connection to them people over there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Even when you look at Christopher Columbus's pictures, even when you look at the motherfucker who was used for the picture of Jesus Christ, when you look at the stock of Europeans at that era, they was white, but they didn't hold the image that they hold high of being white with the blue-eyed, blonde hair.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I think it's some history.
I think they played a very deceptive role when you look at how they infiltrated the Americas. They just dressed funny. Because when you look at the stock at that time during the world, remember, white skin as we know it now has whitened up in the past 75 years. Meaning you can see the yellow stock of the Chinaman back then. My pops be telling me some shit. He was, when you look at, I like to use Bruce Lee. I didn't know Bruce Lee was half white. Well, not half white direct, but meaning, I think his father was Chinese, but I think his mother, one of them was half white and half Chinese. So he wasn't a direct mulatto. But I use him because when you look at his body, my pop be telling me, he said, what's the difference between a Jap and a Chinese? Japs got long bodies. Chinaman built like an African. He got short torso, long legs. When you look at Japs, we're not talking about Koreans. When you look at Japs, that's why they when you look at their martial arts, anybody who get down and stay a little bit, they use jitsu, and they don't use a lot of kicking. Karate got kicking in it, but when you look at like jiu-jitsu, it's mostly defensive and it's arm locks and throwing and how to fall and so forth. It's countering and so forth, like Steven Seagal. Steven Seagal, he's not really kicking. He's really defensive. You see what I'm saying? But if you look at him, he's a cracker. But he says a Japanese form. His body type is good for their art. That's why when we look at the karate wave, for example, the Europeans was fascinated. Europeans built wasn't good for kung fu or Muay Thai. It was good for karate. Because even when you look at this is my opinion, out of all the stocks of Asians, Japs look more like crackers. If you see a round-eyed, and they got them, they pop, round-eyed Japs, they pop up, they got a stock that's like a cracker, you be like, oh. They got, even though they got the high cheekbones and so forth, and, you be like, I don't know where he's from, but the features is there. You see the point I'm making?
Yeah,
but the body
type. You're saying that he looked like, to me, a Japanese with a more rounded looking eye. Looked like an Australian.
Now, even when you go to Australia, that's what threw you off with the Australian. See, the Australian, even though, right, they have to put them in another scheme because they got, when you look at the physiology of most Australians, they built like Africans. They got strong, the crackers called ancestral traits. When you look at the strong brow ridge of Australians, for example, and fuck that. Let's look at their post-cranial, meaning, the post-cranial is below the cranium. This is what I like to study because this is what I like to, when they talk about what separate us from other motherfucking species, is how we walk upright, right? The Neanderthal, I think that motherfucker was anatomical. He was a quadruped. He wasn't a facultative biped. Meaning he could walk upright, but his main use of locomotion was on all fours in his in his original environment, under the conditions in which that created that nigga or seasoned him to what he is now. You see what I'm saying? When you look at Africans, now this is a theory that Cracker came up with after studying birds and other traits. He said when we looked at most species that are in high temperate climates, they seem to not be fat. They seem to have long limbs and short torsos. And he said this was probably because they had to sweat more and exhibit more heat. When you look at creatures that are in more cold climates, they had longer torsos. You know, being in the cold, one thing you will want to keep cold is your organs. The brain gonna stay cold as long as the heart is right. You see what I'm saying?
Stay warm, not cold. Stay warm, not cold. Stay warm.
Right. I'm off this good kush, but
no, but
you see what I'm saying? I don't like to use the term, curse. I'm just saying we all on point. But go ahead.
No, you were saying about the lung capacity.
Right. The lung capacity. When I look at the bone, the fossil record, even when it came to our university, even though that motherfucker was a composite of all Neanderthal bones, because when we look at Grimaldi, go type in the search Grimaldi images, and when you see it, you're gonna see them in fetal position. You're gonna see a complete set of 2, maybe 3, and you're gonna see their knees bent near the chin. That's fetal position, right? That means burial.
Yeah, they was burying. That's why I'm saying. That's why this Neanderthal wasn't no human like that, man. No. Because them bones, they just died wherever they was at and fell down. The animal ate up half of them, took the bones and shit them out somewhere else. All that mess, man.
Well, it shows also that the Grimaldi was evolved in terms of having the early components of spirituality, because that's known as the thrice sprint position. And they have found that they have shown the evolution of that initial reverence to the ancestors leading up to the highest aspect of it, starting with a dozer step pyramid that Imhotep designed. And, so
that show a development in mentality. That show a mind development. That show a civilized person. This was not there wasn't no still creature.
Now, one thing we should do is, I'm happy Sister Camille interject, we should stop calling it the Grimaldi man, because actually it's the Grimaldi woman and her daughters. They changed it to Cro-Magnon man, because right when Europeans was coming up with this bullshit, they was also in they male chauvinist fashion. They were saying a woman's bones was too soft to surpass time. So when they found the Grimaldi, and they find a female and her daughters buried in fetal position. And then when you look at the earliest cultural material remains in Europe, the Venus of Willendorf. It's of Stadiophagus European, it's in Europe, but it's of African women as gods.
You have no argument out of me with that, King. I just want to also go back to where you were speaking on the Neanderthal being mobile by propelling forward the same way.
At the same time, Sister Camille, what I'm saying is at the same time, you're finding human cannibalism in outer Portugal, Spain. Human remains of at least 6 individuals, meaning while they are anatomical, modern African Homo sapiens in that region, in Spain, to the north is something that's savage nature that's roaming that motherfucking land. Now we know in the archaeological record they time lapse. So what I'm saying is they wasn't mixing. I'm saying the cracker was hairy as a motherfucker.
Go ahead, Sister Camille. Let Sister Camille go ahead and finish her thought.
Yeah, I wasn't saying nothing against that. I was actually trying to say that I could see that because if we go by Sheikh Anta Diop's work and the Grimaldi leaving or the African leaving at different stage of its development, at Homo erectus, you wouldn't be completely upright initially in the beginning of that stage at that time period. And I could see with the onset of Wormian 2 happening and Wormian 3, the last PlayStation, it would be before that. It would definitely be during Wormian 2, in terms of time period, because Wormian 1 is approximately 50,000. So before that, right? That Homo erectus in that cold definitely having the need to be hairy. I could see you, or not the Homo erectus, Neanderthals you were describing, definitely moving on all fours and having the same long long arms as ape does has in terms of its due to the way it moves. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Now, it's important. You look at their culture. It's Europeans that came up with that motherfucking that joke that cavemen would beat their women in the head and drag them off, right? If they use that, maybe there was cohabitation between Neanderthals and modern humans, right? That would be the logic I would use. I would say, okay, if that was happening, then if we find the deification in early, like Anatolia, Turkey, and so forth, the Venus of Willendorf, and so forth, and we look at these cave paintings, right? When I first seen them, I'm like, these is Africans missing home, trapped in the ice age in a cave, and just like niggas in cells would do, you would, instead of you looking at walls, natural stone walls, you would say, fuck it, I'm going to make this motherfucker Africa, right? It would be men who would be deifying and making stone, right? If we talking about straight African men, right? Straight in the ice age, right? Now, when we look at the theory that they come with cohabitation, and then when I hear the earliest findings of orange bearded man crossing the river, and the need, why is this orange bearded man coming down there? The Egyptians started saying that they didn't let their queens marry foreigners. If you understand that logic, how is the European cohabit, in power now to some extent? What is Dr. Clark point out sex politics? How every time he invades a nation, he plays sex politics. After, his main objective is the female. And using the female to spawn off his offspring to fit his political desire. Now, if we understand that as being probably some indicative of his primitive culture, I can see cavemen doing this. Seeing that motherfucking cavemen on all fours, people raw meat, new beauty when he seen it. I'm not saying that, they were massively kidnapping black women, no. But if they use that theory to say we cohabitating, that's going to be the logic I use. Because it falls in line with what brother said, white man raping everything. Even dogs, cats. So he got an issue with sex. And that's something indicative, obviously, that was something that was primitive when he was on all fours that we can see now.
Why would that not be his nature during his existence in the cave? You know, can somebody de-evolve in terms of being civilized, depending on environment and conditions placed upon it? Most definitely, because I am a byproduct of the de-civilization of my people occurring by the cracker beast. So why couldn't the cracker beast, all right, or that African who's being called Grimaldi, who has the Agrognesian industry, when the Ice Age happened, it's not like it was a progressive thing. You know, it was catastrophic. You know, it was an onset. So for those that did survive, those remains that have been found in them caves in the south of France and other places with ricket bones and that type shit and what appears to be bones of children that have been analyzed to be determined to be the bones of children. Before I go there, I'm getting off track. Hold on. Sorry about that. I mean, the land of Kush as well. Just want to throw that out there. But those Africans who were caught up in that cave, why could they have not devolved in terms of behavior? Because we're not talking about 10 years or 20 years. We're talking generations coming into birth. The same way we had generations coming into birth in our captivity here, where the Lord said we couldn't read or write. The same people who built the Great Pyramid of Giza and other things, who today can't, the majority of them can't do that math. So it is possible. It is possible. So, and that's evolving, being the animal, eating animals raw, raping babies, raping boys, raping other men, raping women. Yes, definitely a part of that innate development of that mutated creature that is now called the cracker beast. Without him having to snatch up my ancestors. The behaviors that came out of them caves living in there, if we're going to go with that theory of, not the theory, but, well, I don't know. I'm going to say theory. Fuck it. Of the Ice Age happening and them being in them caves, devolving in terms of civilization, being civilized, social behaviors, intellectually, definitely. Why would it not occur over time? And then somebody got to explain to me the bones, let me get back to that, with the bones that have been found to have rickets in it. Because rickets only happen one way in children. That's vitamin D deficiency.
And that's the SCL24A5 gene. And it's about 20,000 years ago it started developing. They're saying 50,000 years ago, the people who was going to develop that gene moved out in the waves out of Africa. Well, I'm going to tell you now, with this situation going on, we better leave them out of here, Sister Camille, because in a little while, you're going to have a little white kid and straight hair, and I am too. For so long, if this theory hold up.
Say that again, Brother Boy, I didn't hear you.
I said too much time up here in this weather. This thing hold up. We're gonna develop something our own something.
So I'm going to use as an example. I do not have a prognostic nose. Now, I'm extra. I am beautifully blackened, as my men call me. All right. Now, my man at the current moment. I said men. Let me get that right. Excuse me. You know, but I do feel that is a result. If we're gonna deal with Gover's law, definitely it's a result of that. Definitely. All right. Because in this climate we find ourselves in. Even with the South being warmer, it ain't. You can't tell me that's equated to African hot.
Mhm.
And who's going to measure, like I said before, who give me the measurements of the radiation that Rob was putting out 2000 BC, 1,000,000.5 BC? Who got that?
Mhm. I tell you what we do got. I tell you what we do got.
Came over here.
I tell you what we do got. Put this to the record. Coming from a cracker named John Brookfield. Human evolution, a legacy of cannibalism in our genes. A new study of genetic variation in the human prion protein suggests that balancing selection has operated on amino acid sequencing polymorphism in the gene during the 500,000 years. Is this a legacy of worldwide cannibalism by our ancestors? Now, if you listen to that context, this is a European writer by his people. DNA patterns of DNA sequence variation in human populations are the result of migration, selection, and random genetic drift operating as a function of the effective population size. The key word in that was selection and random genetic drifting. Genetic drift operates more among crackers. Given this, the possibility exists of using the structure of human variability to infer something about human migration, selection, and effective population sizes in the past. A new study of DNA sequence variation at the prion protein Lucius 1 has been interpreted as suggesting a sustained heterozygote advantage created by a lifestyle of habitual cannibalism, implying a new vision of the lifestyles of our ancestors. One of the most challenging questions about humans is to know the extent to which natural selection operating in our prehistoric ancestry has shaped our present phenotypes and behaviors. Evolutionary psychology tries to explain human behavior in terms of selective advantage conferred by individual behavioral traits. This approach fails or falls into the biological tradition of trying to explain aspects of an organism's phenotype through the fitness advantage of phenotype generations. Remember, fitness, when they say fitness, genes or alleles operate in the best interest of fitness, that is to successfully reproduce. With humans, however, the explanation of behavior in adaptive terms is more difficult than our species, as the societies in which we live today are immeasurable different from those in which our gene pool evolved. Humans, however, the explanation of behavior in adaptive terms is more difficult than in our species, as societies in which we live today are immeasurable different for those in which our gene pool evolved. While we may be adept at hang gliding the genes that make us so unquestionably not shaped by selection against individuals who hang glided unsuccessfully in our evolutionary past. This cracker omitting a whole lot. For this reason, selective explanations of human behavior cannot be judged on the bias of the consequences of behavior for modern humans. Modern humans are Africans, remember that. But only in terms of whether the genes responsible would have been favored by selection during the prehistoric eras when our genome evolved. Woo! I'm going to read that again. For this reason, selective explanations of human behavior cannot be judged on the bias or on the basis of consequences of behavior for modern humans, that's Africa, but only in terms of whether the genes responsible would have been favored by selection during the prehistoric eras when our genome evolved. That means modern humans is around, but we can't judge the behavior of these new motherfuckers because that's when their genome evolved. And for this reason, many have speculated about the, quote, environment of evolutionary adaptiveness, the, quote, hypothetical Pleistocene environment to which our genes were adapted by selection. While some insights into our lifestyle during the time of the environment of evolutionary adaptiveness can be gleaned from the studies of hunter-gatherers living today, that's the Khoikhoi in Africa, and from the archaeological record, this can never be known with certainty. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Oh, no, say the last sentence again. It could never be known what?
Listen what this cracker said. While some insights into our lifestyle during the time of the environment of evolutionary adaptedness can be gleaned from studies of hunter-gatherers living today. Only hunter-gatherers living today are the Khoikhoi, right? And from the archaeological record, this can never be known with certainty. This is obviously a problem for the adaptive interpretation of human behavior, as it is very easily hypothesized selection having operated on the arbitrary behavior by making appropriated guesses about the nature of environment of evolutionary adaptiveness.
Thank you very much.
Now, please, somebody translate that for me, Brother Solomon, or somebody.
At the end of the day,
it backs up what I said. My position is in terms of him not saying that he come out of the goddamn cave. All right. In terms of the amino acids, my other hypothesis would be just that the amino acids in their stomach would definitely have to change because of how they are existing, being fucking animals, eating each other, cannibalism, and the whole nine for survival. So I appreciate him directly helping me to continue on the path I'm on.
I'll say. Now, this cracker keep going. He says, there's, however, a completely different and complementary... Hold on. Let me get to the light. There is, however, a completely different and complementary approach to discovering the lifestyle of our ancestors. One which starts with identification of selection and moves from this to infer about lifestyle. The idea is to identify genetic variability with known fitness consequences in present-day populations. Did y'all hear what I just... Remember I told you, fitness is the ability to reproduce, right? Meaning, the cracker said this. He omitted this to me, Queen. He said this right here. He said, evolution, he said natural selection works to maximize the fitness of every species, which means that natural selection works only to maximize your probability of multiplying your species, right? That's the breakdown, right? This cracker says, one which starts with the identification of lifestyle. Let me read this again. There is, however, a completely different and complementary approach to discovering the lifestyle of our ancestors. One which starts with the identification of selection. Selection falls on the female. Remember this. Fitness, the maximized fitness is for the male. So he has the best probability of having the best potential sperm, right? But the selection always falls on the female. She determines what's dominant in terms of what should be passed on, what should be passed on to the dominant trait. Anything that comes on about what we think now is a later cultural manifestation. But let me get back to this. One which starts with the identification of selection and moves from this to infer about lifestyle. The idea is to identify genetic variability with known fitness consequences in present-day population. What fitness what kind of fitness consequences exist in present-day populations? That's the question, right? And to use the patterns of variability to infer something about selection in the past. This infers can be drawn about the lifestyle that would have been necessary for such selection to have been operated. A remarkable new study provides an example of this approach. The dramatic occurrence of a new variant called Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease, CJD, in the UK has led to the studies of the genotype of the infected individuals at the prion protein locus. There is a polymorphism. No, before I get into this shit, he said in order for them, they're looking for the weakest gene. What's the weakest gene that's responsible for the creation of the weakest gene is the failure of fitness, the consequences of fitness in present-day populations. In present-day populations of Europeans, you find Jacob disease. What was I saying earlier? Europeans got a long track record of neurological diseases on the nervous system. You see what I'm saying? Before they use color to make the variation between us and them, they're going to go to the nervous system issues that they find in their DNA, meaning they got high. You have light skin tone, but if you got a high variation of mitochondrial DNA from African women, you'll be all right. You see the point I'm making? They trace their lineage back to cavemen and Neanderthals through these motherfuckers having ricket problems with their bones and having the same nervous system issues up to date. Now, what's ironic is I'm tying this in the context of cannibalism. If anybody knows about cannibalism, have you heard when people who engage in cannibalism, they have the shakes? Anybody ever study that? People who over time eat a lot of cannibalized meat, they be shaking this shit, they be having nervous system problems.
Yeah, from eating that, I forgot what that piranha, whatever that little shit is in the brain.
No, that's the consequence, because otherwise, motherfuckers would be eating meat, right? Niggas would be eating human meat, right? But what's the consequence? You have nervous system issues, right? Nervous system issues like Jacob's disease. Why am I saying this? Because this is a cracker citing to say that, quote, what's the title of the article? Human Evolution, a Legacy of Cannibalism in Our Genes.
Damn. I got this book on them jokers eating each other too called Cannibals and Kings. I have to go pull it up. He's saying that. I thought about that. We're supposed to be with each other like that. So they citing it clear as day. Look, this was going on. We eating each other. And we talking about our genes. We're not talking about mine. But they make a distinction, but they don't tell you that they're making a distinction. You have to pick up on the distinction. Brother Solomon, what's going on out there tonight, man?
Peace, family. I'm chilling, man. What's good with y'all, man?
Man. You know, we were building on the reasons why we're going to have to build our own story that regardless of how much information we get, and information keep coming up, dates keep changing, times keep changing, we trying to put a finger on it. But at the end of the day, we're going to have to come up with our own creation story when we talk about, and we can't find no dates. So Sister Camille said, I think the best thing to do is just say, we've been here longer than they can find the time for. Good. I'll be heard. Check. We'll check.
We're in the building.
All right. With the show on time, my phone came on hook for a second. But now you know we have to agree that at the end of the day, all the information points to these people being some other type of created creature, created by whom or what, if it's created by nature or created by somebody genetically putting some over on them. There is, however it is, but the information runs true. And one of the things that we can say is that it's the little differences in our genetics that really make a difference. It's those little variants. Because as much as we differ as Africans, it's the difference between the African and the European, even though, you know, when you look at it, it's like, oh, well, look, it's only 5% different. No, man, that means a lot. That 5% is a lot of percentage difference when we're dealing with genetics. Because those things change a whole lot of different things. Because a lot of, you know, genetically, a lot of us are all the same. You know, so that's something that's neither here nor there. But it's the differences that really make something out of it.
Right.
And,
I want to put this out there too, Brother Bourne. Dr. Jewel Poker, her sister, she's a doctor, medical doctor, right? She did lectures a long time ago, and she was talking about how when we go to the doctor, we should watch the blood intake that we give them. She said if you notice, they always take 2 vials of blood and so forth. And when she's going on with this lecture, the title of the lecture is how Europeans, how to regrow limbs and so forth, right? And she's showing you how, you know, these books, Europeans, you know, these $1,000 books and so forth. And she said in the medical field, they got like scholarly journals put out every quarter or whatnot. And in these quarters, it's presenting things on melanin, right? Not with the title rate open, but if you're familiar with the science of melanin, that's basically what they're talking about. And these old cracker men using gene splicing and so forth. These motherfucking crackers is in their 50s and 60s, looking like in their youth, more youthful, right? Muscular, right? And in the backdrop, you see the physiology of a black man, right? And she was saying that they've been tapping into our shit and whatnot, right? Now, you got a lot of people who are fucking going to this ancestry DNA, right? When they come to the African, if you were getting, you know, if it's kind of redundant, but if you're going to go, I'm going to see what part of Africa I come from, right? And you're giving them DNA, you kind of supporting them, but on the flip side, it is kind of positive because the only people who can specifically locate certain genes is the African, because on one hand, we are the original copy. We're the original code. I won't say copy, my bad, but we are the original man to some extent. You see what I'm saying? And it's going to be shown in our DNA. And not only are we the original, we have the most genetic variation. Positive genetic variation. I have to put that out there because Europeans have genetic variation as well, but they shit is through genetic drift and it's recessive, and it comes in the forms of sicknesses, physical deformities. You see the point I'm making?
Yeah, I got you.
So people who are doing that know that they can, if you're an African and you can go DNA looked at and so forth, your blood and so forth, they can make them more precise on where you come from because our fossil record is there, our DNA, because we're still here. Not only, you know what I'm saying, we got bones that go back millions of years. They saying, like you were saying earlier, 200,000 years, but if it's 250,000, that means it's really 500,000. You know what I mean? And if it's really 500,000 of what they found, it's probably something that's older than that. So we'll just say that we always were. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So using the reference, you can, that's why they're always making discoveries, because we're still here. And as long as we're still here, they can tie back in this shit. Now, I'm going to digress, but this is invalid. It's valid to prove the point. Hitler brought into being the notion of blood banks coming from eugenics, right? This nigga was never killed. This nigga, he said this ain't killed himself. When you look at what's going on now, and you look at certain myths and what's going on, that's what's going to be the end to come. It's going to be somebody they're gonna genetically create some motherfucker. You see what I'm saying? He's gonna have genes of Hitler. He's gonna have genes of Ronald Reagan. He's gonna have genes of all these motherfuckers, and he gonna come in. A good movie to watch was Frankenstein, right? And the new twist they put on Frankenstein was that the devil wants Frankenstein because even though he was scientifically created, he hollow. He ain't got a soul, so he can be possessed by any spirit, whether it be, you see what I'm saying? When you understand that, you'll see this conflict Europeans have that our people get into context with, with people who be speaking on these secret societies and so forth and them invoking spirits. Europeans are more able to do that because they hollow vessels. To the point, you know what I'm saying? On the spiritual form, spirits can fuck with us, but it got to be one that's strong, and we have to invoke it for it to really take over our body to some extent. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. If they're more impacted by negative energy type of phenomena, then we're susceptible. We're not susceptible to the same type of overpowering phenomena.
I won't even say negative energy, because when you look at
that's why I changed it to just phenomena.
But as an example, when you look at the anatomy of a cell, the relationship between electrons and protons have to function on some kind of balance, right? Mm-hmm. It's the neutrons. You see what I'm saying? When you look at, I may be wrong, I don't know if it's the proton or neutron, but when crackers are making these motherfucking atom bombs, when they splitting this cell and harnessing the energy from this splitting, half the time it's either a neutron or a proton. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Not sure did. Mhm.
Because even electricity will ground out. So you can have a big ass electromagnetic bomb, but if you don't have it functioning properly, that motherfucker will ground itself out. You know what I mean? You got the capability of being like 100,000 lightning storms at once, or it can ground itself out and you won't get shit. That's the electricity funny like that. If it has something equally in measure to ground it, it will get grounded. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It's that hot wire. That hot wire. Either I think it's positive or the negative neutron. Like you got a car amp, for example. You know, that spark you get. That spark comes from the positive, not the electric. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
I think crackers can even they can even determine the weight of protons and electrons. I think electrons are a little heavier. I think that's why when an electric storm comes, it's from the ground up. See what I'm saying? But I'm just digressing. I'm gonna go ahead and pass that mic.
But yeah, family, you know, like I said earlier, just a couple moments ago, man, you know, we come to the point where we're gonna have to make our own glory. We're gonna have to create our own legacy for our children to know here. We can build off of that which was already here, but we're gonna have to encompass a more warrior spirit. We cannot rely on empirical and scientific data alone to create our thought on who we are, what we are, and what our vision should be. So that's definitely going to be the main move. We're dealing with this whole topic of every couple of days the signs change, and a couple thousand years get knocked off.
Only when it comes to the African, because to this day there is no Cro-Magnon past 20,000. There is no Asian prototype past 15,000. You just read a cracker beast that added 5,000, maybe 20. Can't go past that. But we damn sure enough can. By millions of years. Yeah, got that Diop says regarding the Neanderthal. Because this is where, I don't trust nothing that the cracker beast say. I'm just going to click this real quick, real short here, and go that they came up with this pre-sapien bullshit to try to help explain the existence, right? I'm paraphrasing, that's me right now. So he goes, so the pre-sapien disappeared for 350,000 years without leaving any descendants, and one has to wait until the beginning of the worm glacier period around 80,000 years ago to see the emergence of the Neanderthal, who then suddenly disappears around 40,000 years ago as well, without leaving any descendants either, at the same time that the Homo sapien, namely the Grimaldi Negro, enters Europe, 20,000 years before the appearance, and in parentheses, probably by the mutation of the Negroid, of the first traces of Cro-Magnon, the ancestor of the present-day European.
Boom.
While the Grimaldi man is supposed to be in existence at 80,000, we are Homo sapien definitely at 150,000, according to the fossils that they've got. Now, they got to
it's interesting you brought that up, Queen, because remember I remember a while back I was telling you about the cracker who was telling me if I ever cited Shake It to Diop, he'd give me an F on the paper, right? He told me that. I started looking at what the fuck he was saying, like he said, that quote you were saying in regards to the time lapse on two different species. In my opinion, y'all can look this up right quick. That's when they came up or probably fabricated this motherfucking Digmeses. It says go back 1.7 million years, and it's in Caspian Sea, Digmeses. Just type in 1.7 million years, 1.7 million, and then type, I think it's DIM, type in DIM, and it should pop up. And tell me what y'all see, and I'm going to be quiet. And then I start.
Let me see.
It's spelled Digmisi. It's DIMISI, something like that. So you type in 1.7 million years, then DIM, it should pop up.
Where you say found? Where at?
Somewhere in the Caspian area, Eurasia type area. Hold on, I just typed it on my phone while I'm talking to y'all. Let me spell it out right.
They got a human. Meccarai. Spell it again, Meccarai.
It's Digmesis. It's DIM something. It was found in Digmesis. That's what it's called, Digmesis. But it's 1.5. Just type in somewhere. Google Scholar. Type in early hominid. Got it, Queen?
I found it. Yeah, I found it.
Now, just read the backdrop on it first, so I can and then I'll contextualize what the fuck they're trying to do. Go ahead.
Hold on, I'm on my phone. Let me pull it back up. Okay. It's spelled DMANISI. I'm on Wikipedia, and I'm looking at the picture of, their illustration of what the Peking man may have looked like. They're calling this the early hominins, and they're saying it believed to have lived in East and Southeast Asia for 1.8 million years to 40,000 years ago.
Now, what's important about that, before we get into more details, the time in which it is found in, because it's 1.7 million years, that means it's in a certain category. It's called, right? I think I might be off. I should know this, but I might be off. 1.7 million years, that's Homo erectus, right?
Very much so.
So, by them providing that, all that they're saying is that on one hand, politically, they're saying we all came from Africa. Scientifically, we different. Now go ahead and read that shit. Just come here.
Yeah, I had actually saying, Denise to see this. All right. Let me get the where I was at.
And it's spelled DAM.
Yeah.
Spell it one more time. DAM.
No A. DM.
ANISI, something like that.
DMANISI. Homo erectus from Denisi, modern Republic of Georgia, and Caucasus.
That's what I wanted in the Caucasus. That changed the whole.
Okay. Here we go.
Now go to the archaeological records, Sister Camille, so we can see what the bones. What the fuck? Do they got one or two? Is it a family? How many bones did they say they found?
Okay. Now, before I go, I just want to say this part here, which is very interesting, because it says that when describing the Caucasus, which is a land corridor that led to North Asia from Africa and Near East or Middle East, which we know is Northeast Africa. So let's throw that out there.
Now I'm on my cell phone. Click on the link of the Encyclopedia Britannica, family. Let's get a general reference of what the fuck they talking about, right? You see it, Sister Camille, when you typed it up?
I was in Wikipedia.
Okay. Yeah. Open up another little window and type in Degmisi and go to the Encyclopedia Britannica and let's get a quick and read that off. Read off what they say.
Okay. All right. Let's click on that. Brother Boy, you got it?
No, I'm sitting here reading a whole nother link about the human finger.
Sister Camille, you're just talking about Wikipedia, right?
Yeah.
She read Wikipedia. Somebody read from the Wikipedia reference that on deck. I got the spelling right here. I can spell it for you. It's D-A. Like she said, it's D-Man I-S-I.
Yeah.
Yeah,
D-Man
Demonisi. Yeah, Demonisi.
Now go to the encyclopedia and click on that link, and somebody read that.
Okay. Demonisi Archaeological Site, Georgia Site of Pello Anthropological Excavation in southern Georgia, where in 1991 a human jaw and teeth showing anatomical similarities to Homo erectus were unearthed. Now, it's funny. After that, you see, it says European fossils. Homo erectus. Hominin. Although it has been recognized for some time that Africa, as well as Asia, was peopled by at least one of the Homo erectus, the situation in Europe is less clear. I'm sorry.
Woo! See? Them trying to, I put that in the context of what Jacob the Deal was saying, and it further, even without, when they made the statement that we're different and y'all different and we pulling over y'all, it was out of arrogancy and it was really out of social order and power, right? When the scientists came, they said we all come from Africa, but science is also saying it's a difference. You see what I'm saying? Between the two. And if you listen cleverly how Europeans talk, the more they're finding about us, the more they're finding about themselves and how really they can't fathom or support the idea of evolution.
Exactly.
That's why Second Diop, when he to make it easy for you to understand, he said, evolution don't strike twice. It don't work like that. It creates a species. It will change it through natural selection, but it will never, you see what I'm saying, create 2 or 3 of the same species. That original species will always fall back to origin. See what I'm saying? That's why when you understand that, you say, okay, how do we do that and manifest it and contextualize it? Mitochondrial DNA, the mitochondrial Eve. See, when they say the mitochondrial Eve, they're still caught up in the religious paradigm that they can't escape from. So even when they find DNA that says that it was one black woman that we all got the strongest genes from, it must still fit within some context of being religious. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Well, yeah, I got the Encyclopedia Britannica on what's the Dionysius?
Right. Go ahead, brother.
It says I think this is in the context of what you were saying. It says the excavation and analysis of a fully complete hominid skull dated to 1.8 million. I'm reading the last paragraph. It says the excavation and analysis of a fully complete human or hominid skull dated to 1.8 million years ago stirred controversy within the anthropological community in 2013. The skull's facial features and I guess it's a dental or dentition show several characteristics of Homo habilis, and his brain case was shown to have many features also found in Homo erectus. The researchers who reported these findings concluded that there was only one lineage of Homo genius that spread from Africa to other continents. Their findings suggested, in other words, that the early evolution of Homo habilis, Homo erectus, and others was characterized not by distinct species, but by different variations of the same species.
Now,
So
In Africa.
well, this they saying that this was found in the site of paleoanthropological excavations found in southern Georgia, where
Right.
in 1991 a human jaw and teeth showing anatomical similarities to Homo erectus was unearthed.
I understand that, and I'm saying right, but I'm dealing with the fact that you don't have no continuity. That's an African that they found out there. All right.
Mhm.
That's a European. That's not a Neanderthal.
Now, brother. Now, before we say what it is, all we know in terms of saying what it is, in terms of being a Homo sapien, brother, Solomon, what was the brain size?
Yeah, I'm reading right now.
Now, before you even get to that, because it's classified as being something similar to Homo habilis, it has a small brain. But that doesn't matter. The point being that they're trying to establish, it's two theories that's out there. The out of Africa model. Somebody can type that in, out of Africa model, and then I'm looking for the other one. I'm going to make sure I get it right. My spelling, I'm off this good cush. I think it's the regional continuity model. To give you a quick overview, one model is saying we all evolved out of Africa during the late time of archaic Homo sapiens, which was the Homo. I'm supposed to know this because I got a test coming up. I'm supposed to know this. It's Homo rudolfensis or something like that. If I'm not.
It says in addition to the jawbone found in 1991, 2 skulls were recovered in 1999, exhibiting the relatively small brains, flat foreheads, and low cranial profiles characteristic of Homo erectus. Indeed, the fossils are close in their morphology to similarly aged specimens from Eastern Africa.
My point exactly. All I'm saying is that for them to even say that it has a appearance of Homo habilis / Homo erectus, to me doesn't disturb me, because in Africa you see the evolution, or I don't want to say evolution, but you see the evolvement of the Homo habilis to the Homo erectus. Now, when you say Homo erectus, is that not another name for the Grimaldi? I mean,
No. Grimaldi is me and you now, Sister Camille. Listen what I'm saying.
They characterize the Grimaldi as a Homo erectus. Don't they fall into the classification of Homo erectus?
No, listen what I'm saying. No, listen what I'm saying. Grimaldi, man, is the anatomical African in Europe. Remember, to keep you in context, certain time frames refer to certain species. Homo erectus falls within a certain time frame. When you look at the Grimaldi man, what's the time period on Grimaldi man? Somebody put it up. I'm gonna tell you before you look it up. The first anatomical modern human African goes back 200,000 years with this brain. Me and you right now on this phone, we've been doing this for 200,000 years. Ain't no pre-hominoid that is prior to us that they tie us into. That's the point I'm making. That's the point I'm making. Because at the same time we find me and you 50,000 years ago in Europe in a cave, it's motherfucking Neanderthals running around. Even if we did mate, we two different species. How the fuck? That's my point. Ain't no way the female African gonna hold the seed or the female Neanderthal. Two different species. So we throw that theory out the door.
Mm-hmm.
You're right about the Grimaldi. The Grimaldi is a part of the Homo sapiens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will say then the Homo erectus is the Australopithecus. Again, coming out.
Right. Now you won't. See, the Africa model says that we left Africa during the late Homo. I'm supposed to know this. Let me get it right before I get my terminology, Joe, because it's certain categories, right? When I look at the fossil record, the only one I can see that looks more like us.
Out there is straight.
Let me find it first before I even mention this name. Then y'all can look it up. Then y'all can look at the imagery, because the brain case is the same. It got a big brain case. It don't have no big they mean it has a forehead. It doesn't have the classical features. Hold on. Yeah, I was right. Homo rudolfensis.
Homo rudolfensis. Yeah, that's the one that they say look like us.
Homo rudolfensis.
Yeah. When they take it, he the only one. Like when I was looking at these recreations of the different like human species that they say that they are. When you look at Homo rhodesiensis, that's the one that they make look just like a khoisan.
Now, thank you. Now, when you look at rudolfensis, fuck with the recreation. One thing I learned from the crackers was when I took that class on studying human bones, I made it my business to know differences within human hominids, right? Because one of the things that the cracker tested nigga on was, if you found a human skull, we talking about humans, we ain't talking about hominids or the animals, we're talking just right now. Tell the difference between the female and the male, right? Males got the gabula, it's very protrusive in males. The back part of the skull, the back part of the male skull with the neck muscles attached is very robust. You see what I'm saying? But in terms of early hominids, though, the frontal bone, which, the front part of a skull, indicates a forehead in Rudolfensis. Even Rudolfensis got more of a forehead, in my opinion, than Homo erectus. But you know what they classify Rudolfensis as being? This is going to fuck you up. This will steady kill niggas. It's a pygmy twat.
Now that's interesting you said that, because the height on it was kind of short too, like 5'3" or something like that, like the tallest of them, and that's kind of big for a twat.
Now,
but they were like from 4'6" to 5'3".
I did a PowerPoint today for a class on all African history. I was showing all African history being found in Americas, and I was pointing out the pygmies. When you look at the pygmies, the Twa, they found on the equator, meaning I was looking for just the general phenotypical type. And when I looked for the phenotypical type as a general, I kept finding them in Asia. I found them in certain parts of Mexico and Africa. But when I put them on a global map, I said, these motherfuckers all on the equator. And then I kept finding legends and myths to support them. I said, okay. And then when I kept looking at Rudolph Fences, where it was found. Now, what's fucking Europeans up, somebody can pull this up too, it's Java. Java. Somebody type in Java human remains.
Yeah, I know you're talking about the Java man. Look at that.
Now, remember a few weeks ago, I think a while back, we did a show, and I was telling y'all about that Batman series I watched with this nigga named Vandal Savage, right? Vandal Savage said he was a Neanderthal. He a comical figure. He said he was a Neanderthal who was in the island of Sumatra. Mm-hmm. It's a motherfucking goddamn meteorite shower, and all his people got scared, and he ran to one of the meteorites where he seen it fell, and it was hot, and he slept next to it because it was warm. And when he woke up the next day, he had noticed that his intelligence had changed. And with this new intelligence, he riled his motherfucking people up. And when he riled his people up, now the context that he's talking about what's going on present day. As he's telling this story, he's telling these crackers about how we're going to use the sun to destroy a third of Earth's population. And they asked him why. And it was the Martian's relative who said that, nigga, you think you a motherfucking immortal. He said, I am. And then he got to talking about when why he wanted to bring about this genocide. He said, a long time ago, I've been a lot of things. I've been a thief, a doctor, a carpenter. And then the Martian says, but you've always been a conqueror. And he smiled. And when he said, I'll play that for y'all in a minute. When he said that, he said that it was peaceful in my time. When you look at the Sumatra's right by Java. When the professor was talking, I started smiling. I said, wow.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just want to correct myself. The Australopithecus was not around, was not the Homo erectus. In fact, it was several million years older. The Australopithecus gracius and robustus time period is approximately 5,500,000 years to 2 million years. The Homo habilis, this is all what was discovered in Africa. Homo habilis, 2.5 million years ago. Homo erectus, 1 million years ago. Then you have what was found, the Homo 1, Kingera, 150,000 to 130,000 years ago. Homo sapiens sapiens in Africa.
That's why there's a timeline.
United Plum Shake onto Diop. And speak civilization of barbarism.
The further they date back, the bigger the rabbit hole one thing. All right. Brother Michael, the last piece you wanted to put in?
Yeah, I just want to contextualize that so people can see what we're talking about. And nothing to put out there. Brother Solomon was describing, and we were describing a lot of the actual fossil remains. Watch the trickery. They tell you that in terms of what can survive time, the remains of humans, the one thing that will survive time is the durability of teeth. So you find mandibles, teeth, right? Now, I found this very intriguing. When it comes to some of the fossil records of Neanderthals, You got some that got a nice teeth record, but in terms of showing the progression from Homo habilis or Homo erectus in outside of Africa, the teeth are missing. The front pieces of the skulls are bashed in. And I asked the question in class. I was like, in terms of the finding, I know most of the time when these archaeologists, when they find things, they put patents on it with their names. But oftentimes these patents don't justify different species. You see what I'm saying? What can we say about the genetic, in terms of the fossil? When we look at the bones, when you study the bones, is it a different species? Before we can make that assessment, we got to say, is there enough bone to make that assessment? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to early hominins, that they telling you 10 million years of fucking hominins found in over Ethiopia, South Africa, Chad, can fit in 2 shoeboxes. So in terms of them trying to put us evolving 7 million years ago from apes, that's thrown out the window because there's not enough archaeological record. But in terms of this Homo erectus, even Homo, before we get to the Homo, they put in different categories, which confuses it as well. That's where Ngozi come in, but Ngozi's good at regurgitating what the Europeans say in their books, but he don't make his own conclusions like we're doing today. See, right now we looking at what they say, comparing it, and it's not making sense to their motherfucking science. You see what I'm saying? And that's called analytical thinking right there. That's called critical thinking. When you can say, okay, what is the general consensus of Europeans saying about evolution? Okay, we got that down. Now, what are they using in terms of fossil record to support this evidence based off the motherfucking theory they said? You see what I'm saying? The African can do that because we are absolute people. Once we get the motherfucking, once we know the rules of the game, we can master it. That's all we need to know. What's the parameters? How are we measuring this shit? Boom. That's why when you give us something like the Bible, I'm digressing because I'm putting the mic there. When you give us something like the Bible that doesn't have any parameters, and you're giving a creative people that type of book, it can go anywhere, and it can be interpreted any way the individual wants to be interpreted. And why would you argue an individual's interpretation? You see what I'm saying?
You can't argue that. That's all belief. How you interpret it is built on your perspective, and your perspective is that's what it is. It's your perspective. I can never change that. What never tried to.
Right. Now I'm getting my hair cut today. I'm at the barber shop, right? And my barber shop, the owner, Joe, he from Mississippi. So me and him chop it up, right? Because most of our folks from down south, they got that good African proverb type of knowledge where it's short, simple, and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And he hear me talking how I'm talking, and he helped me refine making it simple for the people, you know what I'm saying, so they can understand. He once told me, he said, now, you know, make why you going to the schools to learn how to talk a different language, so when you come to your people, you talk with a forked tongue. Even if it ain't, he said, and they fucked my mind up, he said, even if you didn't intend for it to be a forked tongue, if you don't watch it, the cracker will use you as one. You see what I'm saying? He said, make it plain. He was saying the situations, he said, what make you different was, he said, as a parent, how do you feel knowing? He said, you've came to conclusions that ancestors have came to years ago. He fucked my mind up when he said that. Ain't nothing new under the sun, right? He said, now, he said the African got to have at least 2 different personalities to function, because how is it that our ancestors knew this and still had to raise us as children in a society knowing it's bullshit, but still having to find a way to get out or make it? Because we knew the rules of the game. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, in another context, meaning, even though we can take nothing and really make it out of nothing, something or nothing, because if a nigga had a part-time job in the hustle, and if he consistently had that without no interruptions in a year, you would see him riding in a Bentley. I only use a Bentley because that's what the youngsters need visually, but meaning he can get that. His genius can get that because he knows Americans lie better than anybody. So man got to get fired from that job. Even our family members who keep a straight path, you're gonna have to get fired from that job because you can take little and make work miracles. We learned that from grandma. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, when we look at the history, a lot of our grandmas was cleaning white folks' houses and so forth, but they had the cleanest houses and better furnished houses than crackers ever dreamed of. That's why they had the first interior decorators as black women. Yeah. In terms of what makes a home, I use that to say why do crackers how black, they don't feel it's not a home without the black woman there to some extent, even if she's a servant. I sleep better at night knowing that Aunt Jemima's on my watch. You see what I'm saying? Where does this stem from? I'm digressing.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, man, that they wouldn't have no home without the black woman in there because the white woman didn't know how to take care of home. She was just a cave woman. So we clear on that situation right there. White woman had no reason. Her and her man were enemies inside the household.
How did Oprah beat Martha Stewart? You gotta know something about this white man. The white man will make a black woman a president and have her so pro-white.
So she had that whole total man. Right. She got the total. She's very appealing to white people because she got the whole manly outlook. Her whole persona is that of the manly. She does the right thing for white people. She's really there to hold you, nurse your baby, everything you need done.
You understand what I mean when I say that, huh? I'm going to say that shit again. The cracker, the first female president or whatever will be a black woman before Bill. The white man will make it to be so. That's crazy, but why? She'll be more pro-white. She won't be for us. She may be black in color, but he'll use her before he'll put his white woman out there. Why? Look at the roles that they play in their place. He'll use that mulatto mix. You see what I'm saying?
I'm gonna look and see because he definitely look like they about to run the bull dagger, Hillary Clinton. They look like they about to run the bull dagger. We'll look and see if they run Condomingus.
He said that we were taking foreigners for our wives. Feel me? But we never gave our women for, and that's something that the more niggas rehash. Something that they meaning to put in a deeper context. What I'm saying is, the cracker was with all fours, with hair on and shit like that. And over time, he got to the blonde hair, blue eye through help. The best help that Minkarock can tell y'all he got was during the Renaissance era when the motherfucking Moors was fascinated with them red-haired cracker bitches. I say red hair because remember earlier we was talking about the red hair, the beard man that would come across the sea. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
When we look at the downfall of Spain, that's why I like Dr. Clark because he give it to you. He understands sex politics more than anybody.
Hair, that red hair like that blonde hair, that's a type of super recessive. Like them green, like that green, real green eye, like.
Clark said that the more niggas in Spain fell out with other Muslims, right? Now listen to how I'm gonna break it down on what Dr. Clark was saying. Dr. Clark was saying that you had Puritan African Muslims, Orthodox Muslims in Spain, who had Spanish wives where they were trying to make Puritan. You understand the context I'm setting up? You understand what I'm saying? If you understand that, then you'll understand that the vacuum that will be created next will be for a mulatto type to come in who is not really Muslim, who's not, taking more than one wives, who can play off that because her sister is married to this African Puritan. You see what I'm saying? It was when you look at the fall of Spain, it was Muslim conflict that Europeans took advantage of.
Hold on, Michael. All right. I understand what you're saying, but we just went to a whole other context. My mom was thinking 20,000 years, 30,000 years ago, and you went into the Moors, and then that just was a whole other time period. And my mind
going the same context that happened during the Greek period. Time repeats itself, homie. For those who don't know history, why was the Greeks trying to merge Egyptian culture? And I'm gonna leave it at that.
All right. Well, like I was saying, I was at a whole another time date, but I understand where the brother coming from. If you saying that, it's the same type of mannerism where when we went up into the European zone at an earlier date and time and period, we did call the Grimaldi period, or when we seen this when we first came to time so you could wreck Africans was our thinking. Yeah, right. We see Moors have a slave army and things. But at the end of the day, though, like I said, we're gonna have to definitely get down to the.
Brother Barnes, I put that out there because you find Adam Porkwell. While I'm trying to write my paper on, go on Google Scholar and type in cannibalism in Neanderthals. And the site that they're going to send you to is in Spain. When we look at the closest Neanderthals towards the landmass of Africa, the ones that's geographically close are in Spain, in France, and in Israel.
Mm-hmm. That was the breeding ground for them little creatures. Or when they was breeding. They wasn't brag far up into that cold region. We just wanted to get off the continent.
Now all you have to do this after that is now you know where the closest Neanderthal bones of Africa. Now all you gotta do is say, what was the geography like 10,000 years ago? What was the weather like? You see what I'm saying?
Mhm. Well, we have to stay that for another time, another night. We'll get that in. But like as I was saying earlier, at the end of the day, man, we're gonna have to put together our own story, and we're gonna have to utilize more than empirical and scientific data to be able to tell our story. We got to make sure that it's a total African story and not conflicting with the principles of Africa and where we come from. And so, I think that the first starting point that we should start with is the principle that Sister Camille jumped us off with, is that we have nothing to tell us when we haven't been up on the planet. So that's the thing that we're working with. We don't know when we haven't been here. So as far as they keep going back, we continuously are being found. So, that's what we're going to work on right there. And make sure that we build that as part of the foundation of our children's education in order to move them forward in this beautiful holy age. Because at the end of the day, we come to terms with a lot of different information. We definitely tonight was a nice night. We hit it off real good. Got a lot of genetic information there for the people. And we'll be back Slaughterhouse Saturday. And this Slaughterhouse Saturday, though, we will be ending that Origin of Christianity timeline. We got 380. We'll definitely kill that real quick. We might touch some of the origins of Islam. But we definitely going to make sure that we get rid of the nonsensical tales that this book was somehow magically given by God and it's the word and all this, that, and the third. And we're going to kill that dead. Show y'all who these fakers were and where their origin really lie at. So with that being said, come on in, Slaughterhouse Saturday. That'll be 9:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 on the west side, the best side. We're going to get it in real nice. Come in early to park your feet in. Make sure you got your computers up. So we'll be passing the information out via the links in the chat room. Post that early to let the people know that we'll be paying off that Origin of Christianity Part 2. So with that being said, anybody got anything else they want to close out with? All right, well, we'll close out with a praise and eternal glory to God, be long living spirit of Dr. Khalid Abdul Muhammad. Be before you. Cracker in the truck. House Snicker too.